We go, recording in progress. It is 6:24. We have just concluded two back-to-back public hearings that were noticed for our fiscal 27 budgets, the two parallel paths. We are now opening and commencing our city council meeting. It is our regular city council meeting, the third Tuesday of the month. Today is Tuesday, June 16th. It is 6 p.m. We are here at our anchor location, which is the Huntsville Town Hall City Council Chambers. We are also available for participation online via Zoom. We will actually start over again with a pledge of allegiance as we are opening a separate meeting. So anyone that is able to stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And again, we're going to follow that with moment of silence. Thank you very much. All right. We start this meeting as we start every one of our public meetings with public comment. This is different than a public hearing. Public comment is not topic specific. If you wish to come forward and address the city council on any issue that is germane to the business of the city, this is the time for that. Again, if you're in the room, we'll start with you. Please come forward to the line, state your name and address. That is necessary for the recorder to put down, and we'd love to hear from you on any topic that is germane to the business of the city. And once we have exhausted people in the room, we will make sure that anyone online that wanted to participate gets to do so then. Anyone in the room, anything at all about the city? Anybody online, as my IT director walks away from the computer. She has she's fine. I do see you.
My name is Kathy Zindel. I live on 4075 North, 3500 East. So that is the corner of 4100 North and 3500 East, where there are some turn lanes being suggested for congestion and to enhance public safety. And I'm just curious where the congestion comes from. I live on that corner. I never see congestion there, so I'm not sure if we need those lanes. And the 10-year study from JUB said that there's only going to be about 1,600 more people. So I don't know where the congestion will come in the next 10 years. And then for enhancing public safety, these are 3 stop signs that are not stopped at. And these are 3 straightaways that people speed on. Adding additional lanes of traffic will enhance the probability of people running into each other instead of enhancing our public safety. And we lose a lot of parking spaces for Liberty Days and other events that happen at the park. They park on all sides of the roads. And if we put in those turn lanes, they will lose those parking spaces because the easements will put them right into people's trees, like mine. So that was all I had. And I hope we can look into this and make sure we're making the best decision for the park and those around it.
Thank you very much. When you've returned to your seat, is there anyone online with their hand up?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody else in the room going once? This is for any topic under the sun that has to do with the city. Last time on the phone. Nope. Okay. We're going to go ahead and close the public comment section of the meeting and move on to agenda item 3, which is the consent agenda. We had 3 issues of minutes to be reviewed and adopted. Has everyone had a chance to review them? And if you have found anything you wish to amend, did you send amendments in? Great, excellent. Then I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to pass or accept the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Yes.
You didn't mention approval, please.
Because there was no payment that came through, so in fact that's a blank line item. So we have a motion on the table from Councilmember Hickman and a second from got that backwards, Councilmember Hoagland and a second from Councilmember Hickman. All in favor to approve the consent agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, this is approved 5-0. We're. I have two groups. We're moving to the second item 3. Which would be, I guess, 3A, which is ordinance 2026-XX. We will fill in a number for it. But it is the fiscal year 2027 budget. This was part of the public hearing part 1. This is the budget that if we are not raising, or if we are not allowed to raise our property taxes to balance the budget, this is that skeletal budget that we would be proposing for adoption. This is a time for discussion or comment from council if you wish. The action we had discussed that we would take next week. So any discussion point on that particular budget? Yes.
One of the projects that we needed was the stormwater study. Can you talk about what that is and what the implications are, and why do we need a stormwater study?
So we don't have our city engineer online who's got all the details on the large subject of stormwater and storm drains. But in the truth and taxation budget, the large budget, we have a variety of stormwater related things. We have a stormwater master plan, which would map out every one of the storm drains, every one of the culverts, every one of the ditches, everything associated with collection of rain, snow, ice within the new city boundaries and in moving it. We did not inherit from Weber County a good map and understanding of where they all are. It would include an update to our stormwater infrastructure funding plan. So we passed and approved a impact fee on storm drains that every person who builds a new house or develops pays a fee so that we have money to mitigate the effects of new construction on our storm drains. But we understand that what we passed was just from Weber County. So we have in our budget updating that storm drain infrastructure funding plan. We also have in budget doing the same for roads and trails. But the big impact is on stormwater. We have a stormwater management plan that by law through the Department of Environmental Quality, we must adopt. In fact, you all are going to get a note next Friday, two Fridays from now, a notice of a public hearing on the 7th of July to go over the new stormwater master plan, which is our plan to comply with the Department of Water Quality's requirements for how we as a city are going to manage stormwater discharge, including education training and going out and enforcing the law on people who might be dumping stuff into the storm drains. We have requirement to go out and inspect those same. So on the 26th of August, after we submit this plan on the 27th of July, 1 month later, we have to go out and inspect these stormwater projects. So developers, there's one in the audience, his projects. If you're developing more than an acre of your own land and building a house, you will have a SWIP plan. As of the 25th or 6th of August, we're responsible for it. So all that sum is on what Sherry showed everybody on the spreadsheet. We would take risk by not doing that big going out and mapping where all the storm drains. We would take risk and not update the documentation so that we could update our infrastructure funding plan with the impact fees. And we would take risk and not do as much inspection of the storm drains because we've got to cut budgets somewhere. So that's big picture what we seek to do and where we'll take the risk if we can't fully fund it. Long answer to a short question.
It's complicated. What happens now with storm drain issues? I know in District 3, we get issues of backups and flooding of homes in the event of a storm.
What do you mean?
Okay, why is storm drain study, why is storm drain management so important to the average resident?
Well, I can't speak for the average resident per se. There's a legal requirement that we have to, the storm water management plan. There's a broad sense in the community that we have issues with the way the infrastructure was built over the last X number of years under Weber County. We literally have storm drains that end, they daylight where they probably shouldn't, they're not connected. When somebody dumps oil that they shouldn't dump and it gets into the storm drains, where does that oil eventually go? Pine View Reservoir. Pine View Reservoir is a Category 1 water identified by the State Department of Environmental Quality. Our stormwater master plan identifies this pristine water and what we as the city will do and have to do to protect it. So the stormwater master plan and the management of the storm drain system are all tied together with the intent over time to protect the quality of the water, reduce the variety of pollutants that are getting into the reservoir through the three rivers.
And I think ideally, we would have loved to have had a master plan passed over to us from Weber County that was more up to date, up to speed, where we didn't feel like we had to do this study.
Right. We have data. It's just insufficient. We literally cannot, we do not know where all the storm drains are, all the culverts are, all that is. And so until we do, we can't manage this appropriately and protect the waters of our new city.
And I would go so far as to say, it's not just storm drains, we love that for everything.
Yeah.
So, and this, to just make the comment about the feasibility study as well. There are startup costs that are necessary for a new city that were simply not mentioned at all. The feasibility study is just silent on. And we had to learn that through becoming a city and putting the city together, which I'd like to remind everybody we're still building. But so for example, in order to collect impact fees, we need an impact fee study. That costs money and it takes time. And it's completely silent in the feasibility study. If we're going to be able to apply for grants to try to get other people's money to help pay for advances in our city, we have to have all of these master plans and studies done before we can even apply for them. That costs investment. And then the grants alone, we need some sort of matching. So the skeletal budget, the one that we're talking about right now, the topic that we're on with the agenda, a lot of that is stripped out. We did go ahead and do an impact fee study so that we could get that going and start collecting impact fees for our new city, which we're very grateful that we were able to do in a timely fashion. But anything we haven't completed is pretty well paused in this particular budget because we are both trying to raise the revenue where we can, and we're very limited. If we can't go to property tax, there are only certain fees that by law we can impose, thank you. And they are limited in their range. So the transportation utility fee can only be set on roads. Good thing roads are really expensive, so we've got plenty of costs to be able to put that money to, but it's not like we can use that money to pay for something else. And so we will be, this budget has us raising the revenue that's available to us. We will still have to slash costs, which means taking things down to levels you're not going to enjoy, and either are we. By decreasing the salaries, it's not because we're now, paying someone less per se. It's that person's no longer available to do the amount of work that we believe is necessary. So when you go to call a department and you don't get an answer back, in a couple of days, maybe it's because we don't have somebody manning that every day, or we only have them at certain hours. Code enforcement at one point was locked down to 12 hours a week. I think now we brought it back to 15 for the skeletal budget, but still, I know a lot of people get really, why is no one out here, dealing with these weeds or dealing with this over here? It costs money to have someone deal with it. And so if we have to scale everybody's payback, that means less hours of work. And it's going to be noticeable. So we hope this is not the path we have to take this year. We hope that we are able to right the ship and just continue to build our city in a responsible manner. But this would be the path that is available to us if truth and taxation is the way one we're here. Yes.
Back to stormwater, Dawn, it looks like,
You're the right budget.
I think so. 217,000 down to 45,000, that's a stripped down budget, 45,000?
Yeah, that's what, if that's the number that Sherry's got in the budget, that's the number Sherry and I put in there.
So what you're saying is that we can't pay for a lot of the things you were talking about that we need.
I'm saying that we took risk in the budget. What do we have to do? We've got to go do the inspections. By law, once we adopt our stormwater management plan, we have certain things we have to do to include inspecting the developers, SWIPs and things like that. Do we have to do these plans? No. Not doing these plans means we're not going to be able to update our IFFP. We're not going to know where all the storm drains are so that we can do certain other things in the future. But we have to, by law, do the inspections. So that 45,000 covers inspections and a few other things. Those are the avenues.
Okay.
Anything else on this budget? Yes.
Well, it applies to possibly both budgets. Is Sherry still on?
Yes.
Good. I was wondering, what is she said there was a big difference in the TAN, the tax anticipation. Can she tell us a little bit more about that? Why the difference? What did she find out?
Chair.
Yeah, so I worked with Jeanette from Zions and we did a cash flow analysis doing the budget. And there's certain restrictions that you can have on how much you can get using a TAN. And when we go to that amount on the agenda, or maybe even Jeanette can hop on now and kind of explain that. So after we did the cash flow analysis, that was determined how much we would need. We don't want to borrow more than what we need because then you'll be paying interest on money you don't need. And so the amount that we're going to do is reflected in the alternate budget. Even though we haven't changed it in the interim budget, we will not be getting that much. We will be getting the amount that we talked about later in the agenda item tonight. The tax anticipation notes, they're intended for cash flow. You have to have enough money in the budget during that fiscal year. It's just to help until you get that money. A lot of the money takes time to come in with property taxes and sales tax. And the tax anticipation notes are intended just for cash flow. And if you get over a certain amount, you'd have to get a different type of revenue and you would get charged for taxes on it. Jeanette is much more knowledgeable on this than I am. I don't know if she's on yet, but she can maybe do more.
We can bring it up again later.
Sure. So just, I guess, a brief reminder of the conversation we had with Jeanette in our public meeting about how, in order to not incur additional costs, you can only borrow a certain percentage of your cash flow. And so we did the cash flow analysis, and in the skeletal budget, we have less money. And so therefore, I would say there are different numbers that are at play. But yes, so we can bring our Zions Bank liaison to answer that particular question. And again, we have until next week before we take any action on either one. Are there any other discussion points or questions about this particular budget?
Yeah, I'm looking at both of them.
This is gonna come back around for next week. So and we have land use to get to tonight. So if there is no further discussion tonight on this particular budget, we'll move to the next budget. We're ready for that? Budget number 2. So we're now on agenda item.
Oh, I have Jeanette on Zoom. You guys want to ask her?
Can we defer till?
I guess we're deferring that until.
Sorry, I just realized she was here.
Thank you. So we're now moving towards agenda item 4, which is off the ordinance 2026-XX. This is the truth in taxation interim budget for fiscal 27. So again, this is part 2 of the hearing that we had earlier. Any discussion from council or any questions or comments that want to be made about this budget at this time? We will not be taking action tonight.
I think the one comment we heard was the salaries seem very high for positions. That was the volume concern, I think we need to take a look at.
Okay, Sherry, you want to talk about where you got the salary numbers from?
Yeah, so we did a couple different things. We looked at the transparent website and we also looked at different cities. And I can have that information ready for you for the next meeting. But for a newly formed city, it would be helpful to have a city manager that had previous government experience. And a lot of those individuals will want retirement benefits within the Utah retirement system. So that also adds an additional expense. I can have it broken down for the next meeting to kind of show where we got the numbers. That's good feedback. So I will get that for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding this? Okay, anybody, or no, we're not, public comment. So if there's no discussion from council, we will move to agenda item 5, which is, which was actually asked to be tabled. So the resolution authorizing the insurance, oh no, this is the TAM, sorry, excuse me, this is what we're here to do. It was something else, authorizing the issuance of tax and revenue anticipation notes for the city. This is also why Jeanette is online. So if we can unmute Jeanette and bring her forward. Everybody was circulated the resolutions that Zion Banks provided for us. This is what we discussed all the way back in December, January with the TAN that we took out at that time that we used. We took out approximately 200,000 to cover cash flow over the first 6 months. And then our plan was to take a weekly one as our bigger bills come due. Since we had negotiated interest-free loans for 6 months, we took out a small amount up front. We were taking a bigger loan out in arrear so that we could, number one, pay back the 200,000 we borrowed, and then the rest of it was to pay our bills that are coming due and use for our cash flow. So this would be authorizing the issuance of tax and revenue anticipation notes for the city. Jeanette, do you have any comments you want to make up front, or are you just interested in maybe just taking any questions from council?
Sure, happy to take questions. And yeah, you explained that very well. So this resolution, like the mayor said, just authorizes the city to be able to issue a tax note. It doesn't say that they have to issue a tax note. It just allows them to issue a tax note if they choose to do so. So the resolution they are authorizing tonight is actually for a tax note that may be issued for fiscal year 2028. The authorization for the tax note for fiscal year 27 was authorized in January of this year. So you're kind of authorizing one ahead if you choose to issue the note.
Yes, Councilmember Shaw has a question for you.
Where are we seeing the figure for the 27? Then you said it was 200,000 for the first 6 months, and where are we seeing the rest of it?
So yes, so the tax note was 200,000 in fiscal year 2026. So I don't believe there is an amount filled in yet on this resolution because it's in flux. So the max you can issue for fiscal year 2027 is 875,000 and still have it be tax exempt. In the resolution that the city council passed for fiscal year 2027, I believe they authorized up to 3 million, which was the total anticipated revenue. And that's the amount that by state statute you are allowed to issue is what you project your revenues to be. But the IRS only allows you to issue 75% of your expenses on a tax exempt basis. So just a reminder, you've already passed the resolution for the tax note that you will get June 30th of this year. This is the resolution to authorize a tax note for June 30th of 2027, which we don't know that amount yet.
Yes, so this is just giving us the ability to do that when it comes down.
Exactly.
I don't know if I heard the right answer to Tia's question. So the 200,000
It's 2 months.
oh, it's in flux. So the 200,000 was to get us started.
Yes.
It's flux for next year. And this resolution is for 28.
Fiscal year 28,
Right, so it's in
July
this-
1st of 27.
Okay, gotcha.
I have a question, and maybe it's for Sherry, because I'm looking at this. Other sources of funding. 1,177,000. You're back into the budget. I'm back into the budget.
Which is not the
Isn't that the
agenda.
same thing?
No, well, we are
That
on.
was our initial estimate for the TAM. But we
Uh,
did the cash flow estimate after. It's all a moving target. We're doing what we can with the information we have when we have it. We initially thought we would need more, but after doing the cash flow analysis, we believe we'll need less.
Yeah, good.
So any other questions regarding the yes?
Yes, thank you for all this work. And this is hard for me to understand some of these pieces, so I'm hoping you can help me with Article 2 and what that means in layman's terms. With the sale in terms of notes, transfer and exchange of notes. Specifically, section 201B. I got very lost.
That's to you, Jeanette, where it's a banking question, will you answer?
Yeah, it's actually a legal question. Is Brandon Johnson on bond counsel?
I don't think that he is.
Yeah, I don't believe that he is either. Can I get back to you on that?
Yes, I would sure appreciate it.
Okay,
So-
100%.
Yeah,
We'll get back to you on that.
okay, thank you.
Yes.
Questions, comments, or discussion about authorizing the ability to take an additional stand? Yes.
I have one more.
Councilmember Benedict, absolutely.
I have one more. As I looked at this, it said the designated officer is the mayor. And up until this point, we have had kind of a teamwork and finance thing. And I'm wondering, is this one of those pieces where we talk about giving you additional authority or powers? I know you had the first scan was the same thing, but I'm just clarifying this for myself. When you are the designated officer as a mayor,
So I sign everything for the city. It doesn't, Councilmember Dylan Baker doesn't sign
right,
checks or anything. I do, and so that's me, I'm the designated officer. It's not giving me new powers, that's my role, and I sign contracts for the city. Again, it's not, Councilmember Shaw that signs contracts with me.
right, and I really thought that the finance committee, as you work together, brought so much expertise.
We do work together.
So that's what I'm hoping to change. But that stays the same, that we know you sign the contracts and the checks.
So that's it, there has to be one person. And
Right.
so, yes, the finance committee meets daily, including today, multiple times. And all of that is the same, it's just who can authorize.
Right, because this is a lot of money, and I just want to make sure we stay as a team and spread that.
So
responsibility out.
the legislature, just like the federal government, you all have the power of the purse.
Right.
You guys have the budget. I'm
That's why I was
sorry.
making sure we weren't turning it over.
No,
By
I'm signing.
having designated officer as the mayor, so that's all I'm asking.
Commissioner Clinton.
Great, thank you. That wraps up my question.
Thank you, Jeanette. Not off the hook. Councilmember Hope.
Okay, Jeanette, explain to me again. When we first looked at this, there was a brief window during the rollover period where you used the new money to pay off the old. Yeah, can you just describe, do we have to do anything at that point to get that window?
No, that's all taken care of. So what you're referring to is kind of what Sherry talked about, that tax notes are to help with cash flow in a given fiscal year. So the due date for the note that you take out is due at the end of the fiscal year. So the 200,000 is due June 30th. But into the resolution, into the bond documents, we wrote that it would be okay to have a 2-day grace period. So that means instead of the note is due June 30th, but you have a 2-day grace period. So you can pay it off without penalty on July 2nd. The new note will be issued July 1st, the beginning of the fiscal year. So the city will have the money on July 1st and then can make that note payment either on the 1st or the 2nd and pay that note off within legal requirements. Did that answer your question?
If somebody make that payment, can that be just deducted from the second note that will be issued on July 1st, or do we have to write a check or write?
Yeah, it can't be deducted because that would look really bad for IRS legal purposes. That we need to give you the full amount of the tax note, and then you need to pay off for the second tax note, and then the city needs to pay off the first tax note. Otherwise, it wouldn't work for IRS purposes to just give you the net.
Okay, so again, what we are taking an action on is whether or not to approve the authorization of future tax anticipation notes, this one I guess being for fiscal 28. That is what is on the table for action. May I get a motion?
You have a number for the 2026 excess?
We don't unless our recorder, we are gonna get it and put it in after the fact, but this is specifically authorizing the issuance of tax revenue anticipation notes of the city.
Yeah, Corbin is providing those numbers.
Right.
So we don't, so they have not been provided?
The number for the ordinance, we do not know, that's why it's XX, but the title we do, and so it is not like we're passing something and it's, swishy in the ether. This is a resolution, not an ordinance. This is a resolution authorizing the issuance of tax revenue anticipation notes, and our attorney has assured us that we can fill in the number after that.
I move that we adopt resolution 2026-XX to be filled in later, authorizing the issuance of tax revenue anticipation notes of the city.
Thank you. Give me a second. We're gonna go with Councilman Booth. So we've got a motion to approve by Councilmember Hickman, the second from Councilmember Booth. This is a resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You speak.
Me. I would like to have that explanation from the attorney prior to voting on it.
All right, so resolution 2026-XX authorizing the issuance of tax revenue anticipation notes for the city is approved. It passes 4-1 with Julie Baker in the negative. She has explained her vote. We are going to move forward. Item 6 on the agenda, ordinance 2026-43, which is a public works standard specifications and drawings ordinance. So up for discussion and then action is the public works standard specifications and drawing, fancy way we were discussing it before as construction standards.
Do you want me to give a short synopsis for the hours? So council members and the audience, we talked about this yesterday in our work session. What this ordinance does is it adopts for the city a set of construction and related standards. We don't have any. We realized while we were reviewing our subdivision ordinance that we had not adopted specific standards for how to build things, roads, trails, sidewalks, etc. So the fix to that is we propose to adopt what are called the APWA standards, American Public Works Association, Manual of Standard Specifications, Standard Plans, and Standard Specifications and Drawings, 3 different ones, most recent edition. And as well as Weber County's current design and construction standards in their Title IX. The reason to do that is the APWA standards might not cover everything. If they're deficient, we would go back to Weber County's because those exist. We don't have time to create our own. Recall, we have this budget thing going on in a fully funded budget. I've got the money to go and create all of our own. So that's what we would do. City Council talked about it in at least a work session yesterday. It seemed like the right thing to do.
All right, we discussed it at the time. Any other questions that have come up since then? Any comments? Otherwise, I will take a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance 2026-43, public works standards, specs and drawings.
Is there a second?
I said it.
We have a motion for adoption by Councilmember Hoagland and a second from Councilmember Hickman. This is an ordinance. I'm gonna switch it up and we're gonna go in descending order of district. Councilmember Hickman, how do you vote?
Aye.
I gotta mess myself up. Councilmember Booth. Aye. Councilmember Three, Hoagland.
Aye.
Councilmember Julie Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Shaw.
Aye.
That is a 5-0 vote to adopt ordinance 2026-43, public works standard specifications and drawings. Moving to agenda items, 2 7. The first 7. Ordinance 2026-XX, which is chapter 108, we're in land use. Chapter 108-2, architectural landscape and screening design standards. Opening this up for the council, this is an ordinance that or a land use code attached to the ordinance that we have not completed. We still have to do work on it. We can jump right into doing work, or we could take a poll from council if you wish to take action on items that we believe are complete, or just work our way up. How would you like to proceed, council?
This is what the one we ended on yesterday.
This is where we ended yesterday, and it's still about half.
I was December, that's right.
There were other ones like the drinking water source that we had all came to agreement on, pathways, as well as some of the other stuff. And so, well,
yes.
we did discuss ADUs. We have not discussed short-term rentals, and we have not finished the architecture. We discussed ag tourism. We had said that CB2 was closed, CBR1, but it has been requested to be reopened by council member. Gravel, all those things were discussed and closed, but closed is not a real action.
I would prefer that we clean the house here and pass what is ready to be voted on. If you can enumerate those, we can vote on them and then move on where we still need to do work.
I agree, but I think the ADU, you were gonna look at the comparison.
Right.
So you still ready?
Right, yeah, it's just discussed, but we were waiting for a certain language.
Yes.
So, we all agree, on the second number 7, which would be item 44, I actually do have a number for that, ordinance 44 was sent earlier today by corporate's office. That's the drinking water source protection code. Everybody feel that was in a place where we can pass it?
Aye.
Would you like to pull it up on the screen just in case and take a last review and then vote?
I don't even need to pull it up on the screen, I'm ready to go.
Fantastic.
I'm going to
Okay.
Councilman Hickman.
She asked.
If you have an immediate question or discussion item, I will entertain a motion.
I give my colleague Tia Shaw a moment to pull it up and see if she has permission.
Scanning.
I'm poised to move when you're done.
I don't see anything.
Just gonna get it first, okay?
You wanna do? We might
I'm
not.
the drinking water.
Yeah.
What do you say, Tia? You good? I move that we approve ordinance 2026-44, chapter 108-18, drinking water source protection.
Second. We got a motion to approve from Councilmember Hickman and a second from Councilmember Hoagland. This is an ordinance. I'm going to go in a very different order and go around the room this way, starting with District 2, Councilmember Jimmy Baker, how do you vote? Councilmember Hoagland, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Booth.
Aye.
Councilmember Hickman.
Aye.
As a 5-0 to approve the drinking water source protection ordinance of 44. Skipping forward, can we all agree that we are moving over ADU, going to pathways? Does everyone feel pathways is in a place to approve? I believe we had discussed and agreed on that.
With the changes that we recommended.
That goes without saying for all of them, yes. If there's no comment or question for pathways, I will take a
I
motion.
move we approve ordinance 2026-XX.
45.
What, 45?
Is it said this afternoon?
Chapter 108-17, Ogden Valley pathways.
Second.
What's that?
Ooh, I was gonna ask for a discussion. Did we see a clean copy?
It was sent over to you guys this afternoon, that's how I have the number.
See.
This afternoon,
May I ask a question of our planner?
you know,
Planner, did you complete all of our edits?
Yes,
Did you send it to us or put it on the SharePoint?
yes, I did.
Thank you.
So the one we're looking at in SharePoint is.
any comments or questions?
I'm not seeing on their side, I'm not seeing the copy. Complete, it says complete. On your copy.
Should say clean chapter 108-17.
Clean, okay, I have the wrong one.
I incorporated all of the changes that the council made back on Friday the 15th.
Which was that we took out equestrian.
15, well,
If there's no discussion, it is
I
45.
already moved.
I will second.
You want to remove?
Sorry, I thought she got her discussion question out first.
I moved in the.
Yeah.
There's a motion on the table to adopt ordinance 2026-45 from Councilmember Hickman for the auxiliary pathways. Is there a second? Second. I apologize, I didn't hear that. So I got you now. So we have a second on the table from Councilmember Hoagland. I am going to start with Councilmember Booth. How do you vote? Councilmember Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoagland.
Aye.
Councilmember Dylan Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Hickman.
Aye.
That is a 5-0 to forward and adopt auxiliary pathways ordinance 45. How are we all? Are we all in agreement? I'm just gonna jump down to gravel zone G. Did we?
Not average, wasn't.
That's what was said.
I thought there was discussion still on that. So, and there was a request specifically about CBR and CB2. So how about gravel zone? Is that a safe topic?
It is for me.
All right. I will entertain a motion if there's no need for discussion.
I move we approve ordinance
47, by the way.
2026-47 gravel.
Second. All right, we've got a motion to approve from Councilmember Hickman and a second from Councilmember Hoagland. All right, we're gonna start with Councilmember Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Booth.
Aye.
Councilmember Hickman.
Aye.
Councilmember Dylan Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoagland.
Aye.
That is a 5-0 to pass and adopt the gravel zone, which is ordinance 47. All right. Let's see, yes, sir.
Anticipating, I thought we ended yesterday with concurrence on agritourism. I don't recall us having anything left on
I had
agritourism.
some questions.
Okay,
Remember-
oh, but you were gonna say, listen, thank you too.
And the TDR.
Did you get to it?
I did.
Sorry, ADR in agritourism,
Agritourism,
Okay.
yes.
okay.
To your question.
Yes, right at the very end, we talked about whether a TDR should be required for the farm states.
Okay, I thought that was asked and answered in that discussion.
And then I don't know the answer.
The question was more not if there was gonna be one required, it's if they had used a TDR for their proposed agritourism, was it still going to be
Right.
able to be used as that? Is that what
Yeah,
it is?
so I think it needs to be written explicitly.
Yeah.
I think the answer was. For the farm stay, it's not a dwelling unit. So it would not consume TDR, so we want to optimize the ability of the farmers to still. Market and sell those TDRs from that end.
But that still doesn't address
That
the
doesn't-
question of if the TDR was used for that property that they're using for a farm stay, if it's still, if they could still use it for the farm stay.
So,
That makes sense?
so the answer, I'm just.
Oh, did she answer it?
So she did, so we had that discussion, where we talked about short-term rentals are not additional growth, they're not a dwelling unit. As defined by the state, and so. A farm stay is defined in that ordinance, it's actually written down that it is a short-term use, it is a temporary stay, not a dwelling unit. And so it would not need a TDR because TDRs are for additional new growth in dwelling units. That was what was discussed in the meeting of that.
Does that answer your question, Peggy, as far as being on board with it? Is it?
I understand that it's not a permanent dwelling, but then there's the issue of transferring that development right out when you're using it for a farmstead.
But
they're
they're
not-
not use it.
So they're not.
I asked the same question, that's what I was
Yeah,
trying to
you're not
clarify.
transferring it out.
They're not using it.
They're not using it as a dwelling, they're using it as a temporary.
Well,
Short-term rental is not a dwelling unit.
I think a better way to answer that is it's not, same subject.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Yeah.
right?
It's, okay, it would be like if someone had a bed and breakfast, they were permitted to have a bed and breakfast. It's the business. And they would not use the TDR for that. Okay, because you're not consuming, chewing up a permanent unit of dwelling. It's temporary housing.
But they're still dwelling because it has to be inside in, so it's still dwelling.
Well, it's a building.
It's the.
It's defined by the state, so you can understand it how you will understand it, but the state has a very strict definition of what a dwelling unit is and what new growth is. And TDRs are for that, and so there would not be a TDR used, even though it's a short-term rental and somebody will stay periodically. It is not a long-term stay, and we did discuss if at some point they wanted to transfer that into a long-term rental, it's a different license. And it would be changed at that point.
Correct, but they're also using 6 acres. So they have, the incentive was talked about to keep the farmer from utilizing that land. No, that's came out.
Not utilized.
Not utilized, let me think of the right word. So the 6 acres is
It was
what.
subdivided at the time.
Let
Sorry.
her finish her.
So the 6 acres was to have incentive, so they did not sell off the land.
Subdivided,
Part of the,
not subdivided.
not subdivided, sell off their land, right, that chunk of land. So they can still, with the short,
With the
with the farmstead or short term, they can still transfer that TDR up.
Yes,
It's still,
Well, that's something we're gonna have to discuss when TDRs comes.
But that's another good point.
they were.
That's why I think it's two different things. Right now, we're just approving the fact that farm stays possibility that the way that they've done it in agritourism. Once we bring up TDRs, then we can make a decision on saying, is this too much? Are we giving them too much
Right.
in order to do a TDR plus a farm stay? And my thoughts, as we discussed it yesterday, whenever we last discussed it, it's kind of, it might be a nice bonus for that. Another benefit
There's a bonus,
for
yeah.
the agricultural community.
As long as we, excuse me, as long as we can come back and revisit it under TDRs, I'm okay with that.
What do you want the outcome to be?
Well, let's talk about it under TDRs.
Okay.
great.
I'm okay with that.
So
Yeah, I asked the planner to bring it up so you can side by side what you observed and wanted to talk about.
Well, I put notes in here.
Okay,
So, I'm looking at,
So, sorry, just to be clear, we are discussing agenda item 11, which is ordinance 2026-46 agritourism.
yeah, I'm looking at,
agritourism.
one of my 21-5, which is like.
You had it up.
I had questions.
No, I don't
because
think we're looking at the same copy.
Okay,
You might not. I had questions because this is brand new. We've never looked at it. We've never looked at something that we didn't go with Weaver County and go line by line. And so we've never done that before, and I'm not sure why we did that. Because in our past discussions, it's always been, well, what did they do in Weaver County? You know, and we'd look at that and say, well, why don't we adopt Weaver County? What was this change made for? And we didn't get a chance to really see what the change was and why that change was made. So I went through and looked at it. So, you see it there? Yeah.
Well, I think on this one too, I had the same question, but I think it was answered yesterday by the agritourism committee or whatever you call it. which is a little bit unique from our other ones too, is that they've taken, they did the homework for us. They went in and looked at the Weaver County. Don, you're on the committee, so you can, if that's correct or not, and did the comparison and then came up with this new ordinance based off of the comparison of Weaver County, right?
It was my understanding that the planning commission asked the agricultural community, if the agricultural community would like to provide a agritourism ordinance. And they did that, then it was in work before we formed that committee. The ag committee formed while that whole process was going on. And the final product that the planning commission reviewed and adopted was the one that the ag community developed. And that the predicate of it was not Weaver County, as you've seen. Parts of Weaver County are in here, but it wasn't start with Weaver County edit. It was a completely new document that they started with, and they added some in. That's how we got to where we are.
Yeah.
So it's the planning commission asked of the ag community, would they like to do that? The ag community said yes. That's how we are where we are.
Okay. Well, I have a full question. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
Sorry.
would the land use authority also consult with other agencies? Because it says here the land use authority may consult with the city's agricultural committee in its determination of these factors. So what I'm thinking about is like, should this reference 1.43 B to C, some of the conditional use where they need to go and get the sheriff, the fire department, the health department, or is it just the ag committee that's making that determination?
So I can speak to that sentence. I would suggest we let our planner speak to the rest of it. In doing the conditional use permit, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. The process of applying for this use would necessitate fire and others speaking into, yes or no?
Yes.
That is the process of getting a conditional use permit. The purpose of this sentence was to acknowledge that the city's agriculture committee exists. And if the land use authority, in this case is the planning commission, wanted to ask the experts in agriculture their opinion on the specific conditional use request, they were allowed to do so. Similar to what we did in the outdoor lighting standard, where we acknowledged that the dark sky committee exists and the dark sky committee could speak into things dark sky. So that's why this sentence was put in there, so that it made it codified in law that they could do that, so that they wouldn't, that a future person who requested a conditional use and then the planning commission went to the ag committee when they weren't supposed to, did it, and they would get gummed up in law. This allows the planning commission to actually ask the ag committee, what's your opinion on this? That was the purpose of that sentence.
So our land use authority is Brian, right?
No, in this case, all conditional uses are the planning commission. And the planning commission is the land use authority for these different conditional uses.
Okay. I just, that seemed a little odd to me that we were allowing the committee to.
They don't become the land use authority.
Yeah,
They get,
that's what it looks like.
yeah,
Well, the may consult verbiage was very specifically selected. May means you don't have to. And consult was, all they're doing is consulting. The decision is not the ag committee. They're simply asking the opinion of the ag committee on this particular application. That was the opinion.
and they can choose not to as well.
Right, they don't have to, but it allows flexibility.
Okay, if I can chime in here, it makes sense to ask. Is frankly, the officially sanctioned city committee that should have expertise on agriculture, whether the use is primarily agriculture still of that property to enable it to qualify for agritourism. So they're the experts and it's acknowledged they can be consulted.
So, but they don't make decisions and,
May consult was very deliberately chosen, those 2 words. What's your next question?
So the next one is on eligibility factors. I noticed that Weaver County has a narrative requirement, and I was just wondering if eligibility. replace the narrative requirement in Weaver County code?
I can't speak to the verb replace. The agriculture community and those who authored this said these are the things that need to occur for you to be eligible. And
6 out of 8.
yeah, if Brian, if you could page down through. So there's 8 things that,
Page very clear.
yeah, there's 8 things, A through H, that apply, and you've got to have 6 of those 8 minimum for the land use authority to say behavioral. They don't have to say behaviorally, but you have to at least have 6. That was the purpose.
Well, I just noticed that Weaver County had a narrative requirement. And some of them look the same as this, but I wasn't sure.
I don't know that there's any direct. They look the same, I suspect, because ag tourism is ag tourism. And so the authors of this put the language in that's probably similar to Weaver County, not because it came from Weaver County, but because that's how you would define ag tourism. I suspect.
From a writing perspective, it's probably more precise.
So I answered the question.
There's another question.
Next question.
Yes. So, and then I just, we've had an SDR discussion, but SDRs are less than 30 days. Would this be considered an SDR because it's less than 30 days? But
So it's specifically not an STR. It is a agritourism lodging, AKA farmstead. That the SDR rule does not apply here because of this. One presumably could separately apply for an SDR on their property, but this allows farm stays, not SDRs. They look like and smell like because they're less than 30, but they're not, they're completely separate regulated entities. They're not long-term dwellings, they're short-term, less than 30
less
days.
than 30 days.
Well,
like an
so what I'm hearing from you though is that the stay relates to the ag tourism. So in other words, you are participating in a farm to table dinner, staying overnight.
You don't come here to go skiing if not and not participate in something agriculture.
We're not finding these on Airbnb for just, without any kind of agricultural.
The requirement in there is there has to be the nexus and actuality of the agricultural thing. You have to participate in whatever the agritourism thing is to be eligible to stay in the farmstead.
And that would have a business license.
And this requires a license, right there, licensing.
And
I saw
there.
I saw that. I think I had one more on. The. But I had one.
At the bottom.
On page 11.
Page 11.
The 6 acres, yeah. I was wondering, would it? Looks like I can see mine.
Yeah.
Is that, there it is.
Yeah.
Weaver County is 1 acre or more. But fewer than 5. I was just wondering if the 6 would cause difficulty for a farm that can't meet the threshold.
Yes, but as we discussed yesterday, the ag committee very deliberately chose 6 as the threshold. Because at 6 you can subdivide.
That was the incentive.
That was the incentive, to not subdivide. To give them another option between subdividing and reducing the amount of open space in our valley. So that's why the 6 was chosen.
And again, under 6, they can still do agritourism.
Yeah, what you cannot do is farmstead in 6. You can do most of the rest of ag tourism, not everything, but most of the rest.
No hunting.
Well, hunting itself as a private individual is a separate thing. No hunting, organized hunting activities are at 40 acres. I can't have a do. So that's right. So that's why the 6.
Okay, it just seemed restricted to me, but those were all my questions.
I think that's a good review.
And the last one was the A's to P's.
Yeah, Brian, we need to be consistent with the rest of our ordinances
They had an A in Weaver.
in Weaver County
Right.
for whatever reason. So,
But we were asking.
yeah, so if we were to vote tonight, we'd say with these changes, with the A's made to P's and table whatever that is.
Okay, if there's no further discussion.
There's one last thing. city.
Okay.
Is I really like the way this organically came about. Because the planning commission had questions, they wanted answers, they didn't feel like they were the experts. So they reached out, I think it was the impetus to get the agricultural committee running off the ground and going. They gave input for what our farmers need in this valley. And I think that's so important because it is different than what people down in Ogden or West Weaver might be. You know, it's a different focus and I really like how this was built. And I kudos to the ag team for putting in the time, kudos to the planning commission for reviewing it twice. Sending it back, you know, they really did some good work here, and I'm hoping that's what we could do for our valley. So.
Thanks, Peggy, for this.
I will entertain a motion.
I move we approve ordinance. Did I have a number?
46.
2026-46 agritourism. As modified tonight by our planner, he is changing the A's to P's and table
108-21-22.
as the mayor said.
There a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to adopt with the changes that have been requested, which is to change A's to P's in table 108-21-22, the use table. The motion to adopt is from Councilmember Hickman. There's a second from Councilmember Booth. I'm going to start with Councilmember Hobart.
Aye.
Councilmember Dean Baker.
I
Councilmember Hickman.
Heck yeah, aye.
Councilmember Booth.
Aye.
Councilmember Shaw.
Aye.
That is a 5-0 vote to approve ag tourism ordinance 2026-46.
And one,
And that.
Okay,
Heck yeah.
there we go. All right.
Acres.
How are we feeling about the commercial zones? They were closed. I think there was a question that Councilmember wanted to ask. Can we get that question answered relatively easily?
don't know, I hope so.
So let's start with CV2, which was the first one we published, so let's bring that one back. CV2, which is traditionally the business commercial area.
And that's my concern, is can you pull up the one that's highlighted, with yellows? Yeah, yellow highlights on it?
Which one do we need?
Down in the chemical uses.
You should put the orchards back.
Sorry, 201.
CD2.
CV2.
which one are we on?
CD2.
I would like to go to a working copy, just to make my point, if I can think. And not the ordinance.
Okay. CV2, I'm sorry, the working copy. What's the working copy?
That's on the drive.
But there's two of them.
Well, there's a summary and then there's.
There's no, yeah, don't do the summary.
Is the title working copy in the file name or are you just calling it the working copy?
Yeah.
Because the planner just opened the file CD2.
Okay, perfect. Brian, try that and scroll down and see if you see, yes, this is it, so.
Okay, that.
Okay, if I could explain this, I sent it out in an email and just to let you all know what I was thinking. And here's my thought. The area around the four-way stop was at one time outlined in the form-based village. I don't know if it ever got adopted, but it had an outline of a form-based village for Newtown Eden at one time. I still believe that should be a more vibrant hub than the heavier commercial zone. So I'm concerned that if we pass a heavier commercial zone, permits will come in, and according to Corbin's training, they will be accepted. And if we have heavier commercial uses right there near the four-way, surrounding the four-way stop, where we're starting to build a vibrant center, that concerns me. We have a transportation study coming up in July that's going to talk about village areas. I believe we need to relook at this area for a village zone. So my question is, how do we kind of keep it a village zone until we can get a village zone in there without having heavy commercial? So one option might be to take out temporarily some of the heavier sales and service pieces. that would not fit with the vibe of a commercial zone. And those would be more in the back and have the front facing properties along the highways be more vibrant coffee shops or.
I missed what you said, you wanted me to do what?
Give us specific what you.
Okay, I want to take air conditioning, sales and service, everything that I highlighted in yellow on this. And move it back.
How would you move it back?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking. So one idea is just to temporarily take them out of the CB2 as permitted uses until we get a zone. Did you refine that?
I did, I did. And
Am I
Dr.
confusing you with this now?
No, I just like to clarify, because I think you might be a little, that's just my. So CD2 right now, the only area, there was never a designated form-based area, if you did not choose to rezone into form-based. We had circles on a general plan, which we still have,
We still have the circle.
but
Say that.
there's a very different thing than saying it was designated to be form-based, because that is not what it was, it's a circle.
I didn't say designated, so there was a form-based map laid out for the every. So it is a village area. So what I'm saying.
Village and form-based are two different things, so my point is that the only area by the four-way that is newly CD2 on the map is the Eden Crossing area. They have a full development plan.
That's why I'm not worried.
So it's not affecting any other property.
It is though, Janet, along, you don't have it up, so you folks don't know what I'm pointing to, but right at behind Valley Market, that part that goes up, all of that is CB2. And I'm
It
saying,
has been CD2
Right.
this whole time.
but what I'm saying is, I'd like to preserve it as a village area until we can create a village zone. So if we allow heavy commercial in there, we lose the ability of doing a village zone. Does that make, am I?
I totally agree. With you. I think that it's a smart thing to do that we, in the past, within the general plan. Whether it was Democrat or not, through the prior government on that, is that I think that having a better defined village zone is, I think, super important for us as a city moving forward. And what I think Peggy is saying, and it was brought up based off of Corbin's training last week when he trained, was the planning commission training, we jumped in on him. That what he left is that whatever we pass here allows for certain, whatever we have, whatever ordinance it is, we don't have any say on that. And the concern is, are we opening ourselves up to allowing what we envision when moving forward these village areas, these vibrant village areas, hopefully, are we taking away from that because of the ordinance that we passed that is in place prior to, that allows for some of these things to go in? And there's examples of it. I'm not going to bring them up because that's an opinion on what should be in that or not. We have the ability to define what we want in that, but I think there are some commercial areas within what we perceive to be those village nodes, what we wouldn't want necessarily up front and center in those village nodes. And I'll leave it at that.
So more of a CV1 than a CV2 area.
That,
Doesn't help you.
well, what's the CB1 versus CB2?
Well, that's the
It's
definition we
more
have.
vibrant, it's more services.
Why 1 versus 2?
Because of the heavy commercial, the service piece of lawnmower repair or air conditioning service and repair, as opposed to shops and different things that are in CV1.
So,
It's hard to.
Peggy, are you a businesswoman? Have you ever run a business?
No, I have not.
Chad has, I have, Janet has, Kate may have.
I am a resident.
Yes, you are, but the only reason a person would come here and do air conditioning sales and services if they thought it would pencil out. But wait, hear me out. We can say, no, you can't. We have spent, this is the 3rd or 4th time now on this ordinance. We have to get these done before the 2nd of July. We spent 2 hours last time we were on this ordinance, going line by line through this table. So what I'm hearing you propose is we go line by line through this table again. The odds, they're not zero, I agree. It's possible somebody, if we pass this as is, somebody can go for a permit to do air conditioning sales and service. The odds of that are very close to zero, but not zero. We got to get this job done and get out of this moratorium. And we spent 2 hours the last time we were on this one, going line by line through this and agreeing, all 5 of us, to what that was. You said you wanted to talk about it again, so I don't know if you were 5, but that's where we ended up.
Because of the training from Corbin, it changed everything for me in terms of this.
Okay,
So the training should have happened in January, and it did, it would happen last Tuesday, but that's different. And I don't know, we need to designate some kind of language or something that says this should be a vibrant commercial area. That's what I'm asking.
you use words like vibrant and heavy, which are adjectives that are undefined. I'm gonna make a comment. We all got trained by Utah League of Cities and Towns way back when. And we all got a book called Powers and Duties, and we all got a book called Land Use. And in it, it made very clear what the land use authorities' jobs were and weren't. So maybe aha moments happen, but all of this was discoverable 5 months ago. And here we are at the 11th hour, and we've got to get the sucker done. And I do not want to spend 2 hours again going line by line through the stuff.
I am sorry, but I think our value is worth it.
Yeah, I think I was.
Oh, okay, she
And
had,
that's Kate, go ahead, I'll say.
she had been having it up for a while.
Go ahead.
My concern. I think what you're essentially talking about is a rezone.
That's what I think. it
Into
sounds
a
like.
valley,
But
or in other valleys.
But we can't do that tonight.
Right.
It's coming soon.
Yeah, but to legally get it done, you're talking about rezoning it and overlaying a new village zone. And I don't think legally you can do that right
It's
there.
not, that's on the.
That's not what she's proposing. She's proposing to cut these out so that these can't happen while we create a village zone.
That was one option.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Second option. So,
So the second option is not possible.
It's not possible.
because.
Because in order to be adopted a zoning map, in order to amend it, we must kick it back to the planning commission, open it back up for public hearing. And then bring it forward, none of which can happen in the next week.
And on the 2nd of July, if we do nothing, Weber County becomes the law of the land.
But we had an opportunity to do that because we just kicked shoreline back. Did you notice that yet, Brian? Did you notice shoreline?
I'm still setting a date for the public hearing.
So we had an opportunity to kick it back.
So we always have that opportunity. Land use codes are breathing documents. They can be reopened anytime the council and the budget permit it to happen. The shoreline is a very separate situation, but we could kick the zoning map back if we wish to. However, we don't have yet written what you're proposing we put in its place. So that causes a problem, because we can notice up the zoning map, but we have no language for a village zone, much less have we adopted a village zone. So what would we be putting in the map if we do not have? So then you just blown out the density of the valley, County. CBR1 is where all the bonus density is. By adding CBR1 to more places in this valley, you have just increased density and upzoned people's property.
But wasn't that a circle anyway? Wasn't that
That is
a village?
That circles do not equal CBR1, number one, and circles are still present in our general plan.
Right.
That never changed.
Right.
So I will say one thing, being the only person who's worked in public and planning before with this valley. The general plan is your future plan.
Right.
You look to the future. Anyone that owns property in that area that has not currently developed it or leased out whatever they're doing currently, I highly doubt they're going to choose to do a air conditioning repair business when they would have the option of upzoning into a village zone where they can do mixed use commercial in the future. This is why people go through rezones, and it's ugly and it's expensive, but they choose because it's higher value. So yes, someone could go in and do an air conditioning unit right now, just like they could 5 years ago. It's CB2, it has been for a while. They haven't yet. The chances that they're going to choose to do that, knowing that the future has projected that area to become upzoned into a village area,
But Janet, you just kind of talked about the village area. We don't know what that's gonna look like. It could end up being upzoned.
But
That's how we
people
want it
have to
to be.
rezone in, it's a process.
Right,
It's a legislative process, but first we have to write a village code, which is in the plans.
for July, that's what I'm trying to buy time for, to see
No, well,
what village area
You're not, I'm
is.
joking now, cause.
Yeah, that was
You're not recognizing the concern of Peggy's. You guys should just, what I feel is happening, is you kind of like, you're not recognizing what her concern is. What's her concern?
She doesn't want certain businesses to be
You don't
involved.
use air conditioning, that's dumb, that's a dumb example, 'cause it's the first one on there. Use something that is already there and could possibly,
The post office, well, I guess, another bank.
no, well, okay.
Yeah, it could be.
An animal hospital.
From the training we received last week from our attorney, he made it understood to us that whatever's in here and what a business person can now do, they can jump in and the people who have been in the audience who've been asking about this, there's one specific business that people are excited about doing here in the valley, and that could happen within that area.
Sorry, I was not thinking about that.
Okay, so I'm just saying.
Put it out, so you don't, so storage units.
Okay, yeah, storage units,
Indoor.
and
Well, outdoor is not in.
so the concern, I think, again, recognizing the concern of Peggy on this is that if we leave this as is, we could have 7 storage units in and around what we would love to have as a village area, a vibrant village area in the future. And that is one area in the valley we recognize. I think if you're at all business savvy, is a need in the valley. You know, that's why we spent so much time with manufacturing zone, recognizing that there was a need there. We did it down in that area, which makes more sense to do something down in that area for that. And to Peggy's point on this, and I agree with everyone on this, that there's a time constraint, but I also am concerned based off the training last week. We need to make sure we're being diligent in what we're possibly allowing here in the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, before we can actually jump in and put a new zone in place that would allow for what we're envisioning the valley to go as. And the MV areas, we've done a really good job there. We spent some really quality good time on that, I think, in defining that better. I don't think we've done that with CB2. I think we've left ourselves open to having something in place there that takes away from what we feel the vision of what we as a council and maybe valley residents have seen for years based off of studying the general plan, what we would like to see the village areas be. And there's certain businesses there that aren't that right now, based off of loose ends here.
I'll express my frustration and then I'm gonna ask what the bottom line is. My frustration is every single one of us should have known all this 6 months ago. Nothing has changed in law, nothing has changed in our training. That's my frustration. Is it storage? Is the issue indoor storage? Is that the gotcha? Because let's talk storage and make a decision of storage if that's the gotcha that we're worried about. If it's a whole bunch of laundry lists there, then we're gonna have to make a decision soon. If whether or not it's 3-2 or 5-0 or whatever, but we've got to get this done. I understand the concern, but on January the 3rd, January the 2nd, this situation existed. Any one of them could have applied for a storage unit or January the 1st or an ambulance, and they didn't. Nothing changed other than we now have to make a decision. I mean, I'm sorry that you guys had an aha moment last week, but it was the law 6 months ago. And here we are at the 11th hour going, oh my gosh, let's take these out. And I'm frustrated because we've got 2 weeks left to be done before the 2nd of July.
Well, I'm sorry that this aha moment came so late for you, but it's not too late. And I sent an email out and did not get one response to any idea.
Well, we knew we were gonna be talking here.
Right, so, time is burned again, and I get it. My thought is, what can we do, Don, instead of saying I missed the boat?
Well,
What can we do to create an area that we can protect until we come up with a village zone that should be there in that intersection?
how many things are in yellow? I mean, you're the one who proposed this, and you're in
These are goods and services, all the things that are goods and services. That's what I don't think should be along the highway. When we have residents and visitors, I mean.
Yeah, and I'll just say my last thing on this, I promise, is that what I think this shows is that we can't forget why we're all here right now, sitting at this table. We're sitting here because I believe to a large degree, we didn't feel like the direction we were going was feeding into what the general plan outlined for us. I'm generalizing that, but I believe that's one of the main issues here. And the reason I'm sitting here personally is because this is the part of the valley that excites me. Like I want to see I have passion for wanting to see our valley the way that I feel, and the reason why I was voted into this position. That I want to be able to, in 2 years, and 5 years, and 10 years, do something that helps the valley become what the majority of the valley residents want to see, not the major minority. And I think that there's things that we can do within these areas, and I totally understand where you're going with it, Don, but I think what it shows is that there's a concern there of wanting to, what's that next step? With our inexperience of doing this, what's our next step to ensure that we're not getting those types of businesses within those awesome little village node areas that we've designated in the past, and feel like they've kind of been disregarded and pushed elsewhere without focusing on those businesses that have been loyal to staying in those areas in hopes that we're going to do something for them, i.e. at the time Weaver County, now Ogden Valley City for right now. So that's the part where I'm going to be passionate about and express my concern on what we learned last week on this, that these things can now happen. So that's where I'm at.
That's right, Michelle.
I'm going through and looking at some of these, and some of them highlighted Peggy or an N.
Yeah, that was a mistake, so just have those.
Change them to an N.
Well, okay.
I've done changed and highlighted temporarily.
They don't exist, the ones I've been looking at don't exist.
Not all of them, I did make a mistake on a couple. Diaper service, including cleaning, is a fee. Diaper and food service.
Photos studio, you don't want photos studio.
You know, we can bicker over all these. All I'm saying is, I think the more, I try not to use an adjective. The walkable storefronts of commercial use, what's in our purpose? Commercial, these areas are intended to be designated walkable village centers. This is what it says, not along the highways, and that's our route, is coming up to the four-way stop. I don't know if you come that way, and over to Snowcrest, all of that area. So I'm just saying, if there is a way we could do that, that's what I'm asking for. Kay had suggested at one time putting language in there that we could do that. That was one option.
That's not in the film. I said you could maybe say it has to be set back. And something like that, because I think them out.
So what is on the
So
table?
what is on the table is, this is asking you for help in what we can do to create this village area designation for lighter commercial use.
I would say, what we have on the plan is to get a village zone written. We have a grant that we plan to use some money for. We are going to task our planning commission with that coming up. There are 2 zones that we have designated as high priority that don't exist right now, TDR and village.
And if we want to take the risk, I'm sorry, we do that.
But, well, no, I'm replying to, because your question was, what can we do?
Right.
That's what we can do.
Just wait.
No, create a zone for it. That is a zone that we would create that would have what it is you want it to do.
Correct. So how can we do it and say we're gonna create that zone without having other things happen in that zone beforehand?
That's the way the cookie crumbles. People have rights until you change their rights, and so.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, what
It was open
do you
for
have?
discussion.
Do you have No, I am giving my response as to how I understand your question. If you have a proposal, if you're saying it would make me very happy to go and change all these Ps to Ns, then that's open for discussion.
That
But
was
I
one.
haven't heard you say that.
Yes, it was in the email also. It was one option. I was looking to try to throw out a couple options. One option was take all this highlighted out. And then come back and visit CVR2 after the villages are done. That was one.
Okay.
The second one was to see if we could put in some language that we are creating a village zone in this central area. I also asked for a moratorium until, but that didn't fly either. So
It's illegal.
It's illegal.
Well, anyway,
Okay, so what I've heard that's actionable is, we have a request to go through the highlighted yellow items and see about changing them from Ps to Ns. If enough people are amenable to that, we can do that. If that's not the way people wanna go, we can call for a motion, some feedback, please. We've got a request from one member.
I, real quick again on that, I just breezed through, I'm in agreement with Peggy on the concern. I'm not concerned, I think market dictates a lot of these things, and I don't think that market's going to dictate a lot of these things being brought in. My biggest concern is the one that I've already brought up, and I think that market does dictate that one, and that's my big concern with that, and so.
Can you point, I just tried to find it.
Is that storage?
Can you point
It's
it out
conditional, it's down
at the very bottom?
yeah, storage. It's under conditional, but you know, we know what conditional does for us.
Mhm. Very well.
It's not highlighted, that's why you're
Right,
writing
that's
this.
why.
Oh, it's right above service station.
Thank you.
What page is it on?
So,
I think they have pages.
That's lower right of each.
Yeah, it's in the essence of development.
Yay.
so,
there it is, right above that.
Okay, so there is a need, I will say that, and it makes sense that that storage units would go in a commercial, because it's a commercial entity. Where would we not allow them anywhere, or would we just not allow
Absolutely, I
them?
think we need them, right? I don't wanna make by any means say that, I think it's a smart thing to have in the valley, and it shows that one of the biggest topics is we've had people asking about it, so I don't wanna disregard the need there, and I don't wanna move it necessarily outside of the valley for that, if we have a place for it. I don't think this current zone is a smart zone for it. And I've already used the example of the one that I think was a mistake, where it is now in the Eden area. I think the area there should, under the general plans, the way, again, this is my opinion on this, the way that I feel like the general plan is outlined does not call for this type of a business in that. It should be more of a village area versus that. And I think the NV1 areas is a perfect area for that. And if we need to look for areas to possibly expand that and open up that opportunity for that in those areas, I think it's a thing. This
Let's
wonderful way of doing it.
separate. Are you proposing to change self-storage to N? No.
Well, I don't know that. Possibly, yes. I just don't know the process of that. I don't want to get myself in.
You could say, I would like to revisit this.
What does everyone else think about that? Can I ask for other opinions on
Put
that
the
here?
proposal on the table. And then
That's why I asked the question. Is the issue that, in which case, because I believe we allowed it for whatever reason, I don't remember the conversation. I can be flexible on personal indoor storage. We're allowing recreational vehicle and boat storage indoor only. That's an allowed use, which you did not highlight, by the way, Peggy. I can live with it, as long as we get the rest of it done, we get this sucker done.
Yeah.
I really can.
So where would that go?
I would, was indoor storage personal allowed under Weber
We've
County?
already adopted in every.
Was-
Did we allow?
Was indoor storage personal allowed under Weber County?
I'm sorry, indoor personal.
Was there
storage-
one in question from my,
Yes,
as a conditional? Indoor storage personal,
it was allowed in.
Self-storage.
We have one in the commercial district right now.
self-storage, indoor units for personal and household items in compliance with requirements 104-20-4. This came from Weaver County's code, yes?
was most likely.
104-20-4.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so the concern is leaving it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. So you propose to take it out? And make it enough.
Well, in proposing it, I also want to emphasize, I'm not opposed to this self-storage indoor units for personal, I'm opposed to it being in the zone that it's in, based off of the general plan's vision. I don't think it fits the general plan vision, and having it here is in contradiction to what the general plan is. And based off of it being in here, gives anybody the right to put it right smack dab into where we feel like the general plan emphasizes where what they want for those village areas and what the general plan talks of. And I don't think that it is a good fit. And you can, there's examples all over the place. If you look at these resort areas throughout the country in the West here, there's perfect examples of that. You don't see this type of a business smack dab in the vibrant areas. Yes,
So you'd want to make it into again, no?
based off of that explanation I just gave, yes. In understanding that I would love to be able to shift that to an area like MV1 and open that up to opportunities for them in that area. And in possibility of if in the future, possibly expanding the MV1 areas for that, based off being smart on
That makes sense.
taking good areas in the valley to do that.
That's our shop.
What zone is this storage over here in?
CB2.
CV2, so we'll be taking that away if we.
No, it's grandfathered in down
Yeah,
there.
but he's trying to do more.
Well, either that or zones it, it's a different zone for it. He wants to put it in AV3 too, it's not CB2, right? So he visits, he wants to do rezone AV3 to CB2.
Brian, do you have any professional guidance? What would be the cleanest pathway to prevent storage units from being a four-way stop?
Remove them as a permitted use.
It would be a
Oh,
no,
it's a C right now.
yeah, so I move.
But again, a conditional use is a permitted use with conditions.
Uh-huh.
So
Well, then the other way, you could either make it no, or that one of the conditions should be, it will not be a four-way stop and along the highway, along a major arterial.
And
Right now, the condition says storage unit shall be located behind or above building area that provides a reserved first-story speed facing commercial space.
So they've already got.
That is the condition amongst others. So there is a condition on how it exists, blah, 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 blah. We could add the condition, you can't build it on a
Front
arterial.
major arterial where it's within vision of, within sight of.
We go too far and,
Yeah, well.
but you can say you can't build it on an arterial, which limits it in the four-way area, but it doesn't limit it to where the one was built.
John, you're also saying it's going too far, you also have to be understanding if you don't wanna go too far as the vision of where the little limited area we have in that even area of what can happen if we're not smart with it. And that's just my, I know I'm laboring this.
We're trying to get some language.
Go to the conditions.
I think we have limited area there and it could, looking forward, it could be such an incredible area for the valley.
Here's a proposal. Here's a proposal. I made it. Or. Make it conditional. One condition is it shall not be in any area designated as a potential village zone in the general plan. Boom.
I disagree.
I disagree.
Because we don't actually have that, right?
Well,
Is that
no,
what
it's
you
not just
disagree?
that, but there are uses that you can have storage units, and there are things you can do for affordable, you can put apartments up above and have affordable housing, you can do various things if you're limiting. So like, we're just not gonna let you do it in any of our core areas, I would not go that far, I can understand the language you guys are discussing before in terms of adding a line to the already existing conditional. Requirements, adding a line about it being not front facing on arterial roads. I can understand that. I wouldn't go.
There's the existing conditions
Yeah,
on
I
storage.
think it needs to be a little bit more strict there. And I'm just completely thinking specifically of a few of those areas right now and what could happen with it.
And I'm sorry,
So how are we gonna get past this?
Well, takes three to pass something. So if people are interested in changing the language, if there are three that want that, we could do that. If there are three that don't, we could do that too.
What would be the issue of putting it as as not permitted? With the understanding that we would revisit it with a better understanding of once we get possible new zones and area in place in the future.
So I will just say that it's, well, and it also, it eliminates a need that is right now, a need in this valley. And we have business owners that would like to provide, and it takes it away. And we don't have a date of when that will come back. And on top of that, when you think of storage units, they are not manufacturing. Indoor storage units are commercial. And so if we have a commercial zone, that's where they go. If we rezone that area to a different type of zone, village or anything else, that can change. But right now, that's where that belongs to you guys, is in a commercial zone.
I'm gonna put my compromise on the table and tell me what's wrong with it. And it shall not be allowed within any area currently designated as a potential village node in the general plan. Okay, and is that a 2 mile radius?
So I was just gonna say that we need to revisit what the diameter of circles.
Oh, wait,
order every mile, but they're only designated, you know, they're not definite, you know, then
I would be careful with that.
2 miles.
You can do it, but you can't do it, is what it says. I can't think,
Is anyone else worried
Well,
about
it's
commercial areas?
No.
That's a different
that
question.
is a different
Okay,
question.
on every, I retried my question.
Peggy and Chad, I wake up at 3 a.m. sometimes going, how do we create the future? But we also have to create the present.
I understand.
And the odds of it, if somebody wanted to build an indoor storage unit, they would have requested one back in November, and nobody has.
No, there's been a moratorium.
No, in November, which was before the November. Nobody had, businesses don't go into business to lose money.
No, I understand. I
So
understand that, but I just don't wanna take the risk. So I'm trying to
everything we do
protect
has risk.
space to be better, not to
Okay.
less.
let's solve this or move on.
Yeah.
I have a proposal on the table. Do you wanna support that, or do you think it's
I
not?
have no idea what the proposal is.
My proposal is this. That, one of the conditions is. It shall not be in an area designated as a potential village node under the general plan.
Yes,
Okay?
yes, that's
It's
all I'm
one of the
asking.
conditions. It's still allowed, it's a use that there may be a demand for, but it is not allowed in those areas that are intended to be village nodes.
And that's all I'm asking
Okay.
for these things.
Do you want to support them?
If we can include a few more things.
Excuse me.
So, and I'm on the record saying I do not advise that version.
I can see that, yeah,
So,
just because I don't think we ever defined those no area.
we don't, and so I think that that's. We just lost two people. So you guys still have four here, so.
Yes.
All right, so if that, it wasn't a motion, but if that idea doesn't have enough support, is there an alternative idea?
I thought I heard Tia just say one.
Sorry, did you?
No, I like the conditional. And all of those up there, and then to address yours, what Janet said, not front facing on the material.
And that's what I'm asking, not on that drive.
So that's all, is something okay with you?
Yes,
Okay,
as
look.
long as they could be in the back tier and not the front tier, I'm great.
Okay, okay, cause I think Don had said that he would be okay with that, it was language Kay had suggested, Don jumped on, I agreed, I thought it was good, I think that's enough.
Okay.
That's more than,
Good stuff. That
okay,
is good.
when we get it, well, I guess we could have the vote, but not.
No, that's me.
So, I do wanna note that it is 4 after 8, and our meetings are typically 6 to 8, we can stay later as long as we have staff and quorum to do so, but. We want to ensure that we don't abuse our staff, seeing as they are volunteering without payments.
As are the council.
Yes, they are, yes, we are. In fact, we're paying. So. All right, well, I lost another council member. I still have three. I can call this vote.
Well, what's on the table? I was using.
I'm sorry, I thought you put it down the hall. To keep the storage units conditional and add the language of not front facing on an arterial, street, or whatever the word is that we need to use.
I will vote for that.
Yes, that's what we. Sure.
I will approve that. We're not voting. I will say whatever verb.
Somebody make a motion. We have enough to pass it.
I move that with the change just discussed regarding. How would you like me to fix the motion, man?
No, I'm not, sorry.
Okay, go for it. Okay. Here we go. Let me see, I propose that we pass ordinance 2629 Commercial Valley Zone CB2 with the change that I was saying. That with respect to storage units, we add an additional condition that they shall not be front facing on an arterial highway or road.
Is there a second?
I'll say that.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to adopt ordinance 2026-29 CV2 Commercial Valley Zone with the condition added to the current conditional uses and requirements that it not be front facing on an arterial highway or road. It was motioned by Councilmember Hoagland and it was seconded by Councilmember Shaw. I'm gonna start with Councilmember Booth. How do you vote?
Nay.
That was a nay. Councilmember Hickman.
Aye.
Councilmember Dominguez.
Nay.
Councilmember Hoagland. Aye. Councilmember Shaw.
Aye.
All right, we have a 3-2 vote that passes CV2 with the additional conditional requirement. The nays are Councilmembers Booth and Baker. Do either of you need to explain your vote?
I think they've done that.
Yes, I'm giving the option. I think both of you have, but you don't.
Yes, I would like to. I appreciate doing that for the storage sheds. I just had a lot more that I would like to have put that condition on, like some of the other services and goods.
Thank you. All right, it is 7 minutes after 8. I would love to stay and get more adopted. That would be my preference. I don't know how our staff is feeling. I know that we asked quite a bit of them. And I don't really want to put them
We
in
really
that
want to
way.
have funds where we can address those 13.
What, no. Oh, we've got architectural landscape screening
Oh.
designs, we've got ADUs, we've got short-term rentals, we've got CBR1. Yeah,
I think CPR one was just included in this discussion because of the possibility of moving over. I'm good with CPR.
if county
CBR1?
staff doesn't have to have that out right now, can we do one more? Is that all right?
Is it what?
Chris's.
Oh, Chris.
Well, then we can do more than one. I gotta figure out what's your favorite, I don't know, board game. Okay. All right, guys, we're gonna open up ordinance 2026-X, exit the Moment Commercial Valley Resort Recreation Zone, which is CBR1. If we can all pull that up on our screens, including the one for the office, for the room. Excuse me. We
Yeah,
have,
I think we just brought it back to talk about the commercial zone.
I believe we brought it back at your request, yes.
Yes, so
I have, assuming Brian did whatever edits we asked of him last time we talked on this, I don't recall any issues left to be discussed in CBR1.
Well, the biggest issue was the bonus for the 2,000 interest.
That was the big one.
what was it? I'm sorry.
The bonus.
The bonus.
Is to be for the 2,000 or the.
What's a
The-
bonus?
The planning commission suggested changing what Weber County had on how the density is calculated. That was the big one.
Yeah,
And
that was the.
and Brian was to do some calculations and Corbin was to give us a legal opinion.
And we did.
And Corbin's legal opinion was,
So the question for Corbin was on, what constitutes a taking?
Right?
And as we spoke earlier about it, there is a legal definition and then there is what people perceive as a taking. So legally, the definition of a taking is taking someone's value of their property and basically diminishing it down to zero or just close to, yeah. That is considered a legal taking. If we are taking rights people currently have and we are diminishing those rights, it is not legally determined a taking, but I can almost guarantee you that the property owner will consider it one.
It's
So
not
there's a
actually.
legal one and there is a perceived one.
And therefore a risk. Somewhat quantifiable or not, lawsuits is the same.
Or just angry.
I agree, but lawsuits as well could happen. Lawsuits could happen for anything.
So,
Everyone knows I love lawsuits, I just wanna say them.
Yes, you do. Did Brian have a chance to do some calculations?
I apologize, it was Monday to coordinate the plan. Mapping team and get that math done in time.
I think you're trying to get landing the table. There was a comment about formatting the table.
Well, it was,
There was the request to list the land use as a table format. Similar to how they were presented in meeting.
Oh, Matt, that's what he said. I heard Matt. I heard Matt.
No, down to 2000.
I heard.
You're talking.
Sorry, and I was, there was a second question for Corbin that he also answered, and that was about, Councilmember Julie Baker had requested the possibility of stacking moratoriums, and I had mentioned, I believe it's illegal, and he has confirmed that yes, he may not stack moratoriums.
Okay,
It's a 2,000 square feet that we're talking about. Was
And
that
this-
resolved?
Yes, but what did the planning commission recommend on this? To take that out, right?
That's correct.
did they take it out or did they reduce it? I don't.
They removed it.
They removed it.
So that instead of. Oh, yeah.
because it adds to the density. 2 units.
Well, this was, yeah,
And then 2 units on 4,000.
And just to be clear, it does not add density, it is the current density of these
it
properties.
does, yeah,
There is no bonus, there is no adding,
it's the
it
current.
is the current density and whether or not you wish to diminish it.
Gotcha. It would diminish it by taking that to.
Correct.
And there is also, to be clear, under the general plan, it's my understanding that clustering density is a good thing versus spreading it out and getting the measles diagram of density. By clustering it where inappropriate areas
And
is
my,
desirable.
really, my only concern for this CBR one, because it's a very limited area anyways, and most of the area I think is built out. In a few of these areas, there's a couple of open areas for this, but the biggest area I have concern for is the Port Rand area on that, and the potential for that, there's 20 plus acres over there, and the potential for that is quite large. It means pretty nice area to be able to do that in too. So I just, that's my concern, is this now area. It's the largest area, the CBR one. That's my only concern for that. Everything else, I think I would go for with this. I just think the potential of it is dangerous.
I would just say, there's still a potential, this just adds.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, I
Yeah,
get that.
it's still
But
buildable.
based on the planning commission recommendation, I like it better for that area specifically, and I guess all of the areas. I don't wanna be specific in that area, but I've just looked on my homework on it and recognized the other areas are pretty much built out in that area, and limited too, because of the size.
Right, sorry.
If I could add some back of the envelope math for Councilmember Booth's example of this property on the west side of the lake shore. It's a 26 acre property using this formula. While it's the net developable acreage of the lot, is a little,
It's less than 26.
it's less than 26. We could
Choose a number and go from there. Or,
you know, potentially using this formula, you're looking at the potential of 300 plus development units.
300 plus
On
dwellings.
a
Dwelling
acre.
units, yes, correct. No, for the entire 26 acre
26 acre.
project area, yeah.
Can you do it quick to figure out what is it if we take out that 2,000 that the planning commission requires?
We have,
Half.
Oh, less,
What?
yeah, much less. I think.
no, you would be, you'd be closer to, you'd be about 150
Okay.
development.
Can I ask a question? Are you all discussing only doing that to this one property owner?
No, he's using it as an example.
There are a few other unbuilt CBR1 parcels around the community. The total acreage, I would estimate around 70 acres, maybe 75. Although that includes the Chris's restaurant parcel, which is mostly developed, but is for sale. You know, if you're looking at redeveloping up to 70 acres, that's 1,000 dwelling units.
But the other large area's already got an MBA on it, right? Over in Wolf Creek,
Correct. Yeah, this would be for areas that are not already.
and the Springtown one is limited. Developing, so you can't, add that, and that's why my point to that is that it's fairly limited as far as the potential, and the other one on South Huntsville, which is the condo units over there are. I think completely built out.
Built out,
Yeah, so you're talking, the area we're discussing, limited in the area of Chris's, and then the one we talked about the other day that you said is on a floodplain. On to the south of the sheriff. Right, so again, fairly limited as far as looking at. So,
and that's, that's worst case scenario. That's not including any development agreements where you might ask for open space concessions or.
And assuming water's available, it's assuming a
Exactly.
whole stack of requirements being booked out. I'm having just heartburn over talking about one property in this discussion. I don't think that's appropriate. In terms of.
I wanna make sure I'm not doing that, I'm only using that as an example, and I'm taking into consideration, because it's a very limited zone. And as we discussed it, I just wanna,
And I'm just having heartburn over. The judgment call that they shouldn't have that there. So.
well, we're not saying that it shouldn't have it there, we're saying that possibly. Taking the recommendation of the planning commissions,
Well,
it can be there. It's zoned for it, it's just taking.
right, it's currently what it could be
Yes.
zoned for.
Councilor.
Along all this, what is the right number? Is it 300? Is it 280? Is it 200? Is it 150? Is it 100? Or is it 20? That's the question. And we five get to come up with a number. As is, it's 300 in this example. On what would we base less? The planning commission made a recommendation, but I submit it was probably somewhat arbitrary. They didn't. This was a bunch, well, the planning officer can't tell us why. So is it 300? Is it 250? Is it 200? Is it 150? And let's make a freaking decision and be done with this.
I will just say this, I don't get to vote, but I will say this. My opinion is, and I spoke about this openly on the campaign trail, that I am not for upsetting or downsetting. People have their rights and I think they should keep their rights. So I do not advise changing the current rights allowed. That's my advice to council. Do with it as you will, I don't really.
In the final comment I was gonna make is, I'm not for upzoning or downzoning, and I think keep it as it was, but ultimately it takes three of us to decide what that number is so we can be done with this.
Councilor Booth and Sanders.
Yeah, so part of this too is kind of goes back to our CB2 discussion on this, is that we're kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit on this, because we don't have these village nodes in place. We've had a few of these taken away based off of the prior general plan, when we had some of the stuff over in the South Huntsville area and things like that. So I'm looking at this more as saying, you know, I'm not saying we need to take away or because this could be an area that we propose to be one of those fields, you know, it's not a bad area for it. Just me thinking about it, because it's at a port ramp, it's a commercial area where boats are coming and going. I'm not saying that we should, I'm just saying that it's potential. Same idea with the Chris's area. We discussed that in the past, that potentially that could be an area that we want more commercial, want more density in that area. You have to look just to the west of that, the area that's not part of the valley right now, that is on Trappers Loop. It's a big open wide area there that more than likely is going to see some growth in that area in the future. So we may want to pair that up with some other areas with that. So that's my thought on it, is we're kind of putting it ahead of time. And this could be a really smart area for that.
It could be, but can we do that now? I don't think we can vote to do that now, yeah.
Hey,
I think
that's a great idea. I'm just discussing it, not that I'm giving my opinions on where I'm at.
Kind of come workshop.
Can I get some clarity, Chad? I thought what I hear you saying is that leave it with the 7,500 plus 2,000. That's what I hear you saying. Am I right?
I'm fine either way with it, and now that we discussed it. I mean, I want to be careful with it. I think it's limited as far as what was there, so I'm fine leaving it as it is.
I hear two.
I'm with that.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll entertain a motion with CVR one.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2026-XX, Commercial Valley Resort Recreation Zone CDR 1. We didn't make any changes, did we?
It is changed from what the planning commission sent us,
Yeah, well, yes.
but as reviewed tonight.
As reviewed tonight. However, it was not a table, the math is word. Okay, just making sure. All right, we have a motion on the table to adopt from Councilmember Dodd. It's seconded by Councilmember Hoagland. I'm gonna start with Councilmember John Baker.
Nay.
Councilmember.
Aye.
Councilmember Booth.
The same name.
Councilmember John.
Aye.
I started with you, Councilmember Hoagland.
Aye.
We have a 3-2 vote, to adopt the CDR 1 as it is stated tonight. 3-2, the two in dissent are, Councilmembers Booth and Baker. Do either of you need to restate?
Yeah, mine was the 2,000 we added back in.
I don't think they're done.
Okay. All right, let's see, the ones that we have left for to adopt at all are architectural landscape screening design, accessory dwelling units, and short-term rentals. 3 left.
Wow.
3 left. What do we got? What's the most passable?
I think they're all.
One of them we haven't, well, hold on, two we haven't discussed yet.
Yeah,
ADUs we did,
we discussed architectural and ADU.
we haven't finished our discussion.
Right,
But we did finish the ADU discussion, except for, there was a new language being proposed. Is that the closest, because there's only one part of it that we wanted to look at?
I do think that with that language, we have to have a clear definition. What is the minimal? Defining what's the minimal ADU buildable on, is it? Planning commission, is it just 1,000?
Oh, this is the discussion we had of not limiting the micro home? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure how it relates to microphone.
Well, just the
Well,
discussion we had.
Kate's proposal for a middle road TDR / ability without having to do a TDR. And she put it in the draft that's in the SharePoint. So that was my recollection of what we ended up with ADUs, is Kate was to come back with this recommendation.
But I think we need to be baseline identified.
And where we ended up in the architectural was, we finally decided on 15 or 20% for turtle grass, and then we called it quits.
So we made a mark in the page, if you wanna open that up and just finish it out.
I would prefer waiting for the next meeting, we'll call it a night. Mike, did you say we will stay?
We did, our staff said that they had nowhere else to be, so that they were okay to stay.
I
So-
think that
Yes, sir.
I think that we ought to have a conversation philosophically about the ADU and TDR and density. So that we understand where the fiber coming from. Because A's proposal, as I read it, would allow ADUs without a TDR. At a, whatever it is, max of 1,000 square feet, and if you wanna do more than that, you gotta have a TDR. And it's an elegant compromise, but I would want us all to absolutely understand, if we do this, what we are saying. What we are saying is density will increase. Yeah, well, the other option is you gotta have a TDR to do an external ADU. You don't have to have a TDR to do an external ADU in case proposal. So therefore, we're accepting density increase.
And be dealt with. What we had discussed was, using triangular stance to require TDRs. The proposal, so if, and as I was very clear, that's how I would like it to be, to have you TDR so that we didn't increase density. It is challengeable based off of what the state is doing, we could go for it, keep our eyes open, and make that decision. I am down with that. But Katie's option was to split the hair and do state plus one.
That we should just all understand what the proposal is. So that we go eyes wide open into this, because our hands are largely tied, maybe. But our general plan says no new density increase. So our hands are tied by the legislature unless TDRs survive a legal challenge. But we need to understand this, because when we revisit the general plan, we're gonna have to say, well, okay, except we are gonna increase density with ADUs. So I just want everybody to understand the reality that what we say in the general plan is no longer true. The only way out of that, there's only two ways out of that, and I'm not suggesting we do one or the other. But what Brian said the other day is TDRs is an option, and you could cap density. You could cap, you're only allowed to do whatever, 20,000 lumens. I'm paraphrasing what you said. Otherwise, the premise of our general plan changes, and we just have to understand that and go forward.
I'm on that, what you just said, I agree with that.
So what is the actionable?
Yeah, that's the only thing you just said we all need to understand.
Well, the other option is we decide we want to go down the TDR route or one of those and run the risk that we may lose in court.
Or you can always change it to challenge and see the validity of the argument.
But I don't think we're need to make decisions right now based off of what if. Possibility of what might happen based off of this new law. I think we make decisions based off of what we feel is best, and then react to that once it comes in.
I believe
Unless
really by our oaths of office, we're obligated to comply with the laws of the state in the Constitution. And so I don't think it's advisable to do anything that is possibly or likely to be contrary to what the state legislatures
The
is.
state is silent.
did you say the state silence?
Silence.
Right, so
So I brought this up when we discussed it the other day. When the state is silent, the rights tend to go to the landowner. In this situation, it would probably have to go to a court to be adjudicated because of the silence. And we have a firm basis as to why we'd be making that decision. It's based off the general plan, which we are supposed to base these off of. As well as it'd be in line with our code, which is what we're writing the code to make the general plan happen. We have firm standing, I would argue, not an attorney. I'm sure she's cringing because I'm not an attorney and it's not like I'm giving legal advice, but I would imagine we have firm standing to do what to require a TDR, but I would see it, I believe it would be challenged almost immediately, and then the complaint side. That's what I believe would happen. Because
someone else. And you want to be the best case, when we're having trouble paying for our roads. Here is another way to look at it. In reality, some of the research has been that there's a lot of lip service given to ADUs when it comes to actually building them. They're way underutilized. And I think what is going to be more attractive is the ADU plus, the larger ADUs that can accommodate family members or mother-in-law, or, I like to think of it as a mother cottage. But, there is such a thing as overreacting to the threat of, under my proposal, a few small ADUs. We're not talking about a small ADU in every single property.
Well, so my point to that is that we will be talking about that if we make that line and all of a sudden anything above this square footage is X amount of dollars based off the value of a TDR, let's just say $150,000, we're gonna all of a sudden see a lot of many ADUs. Because if it's free to do a mini ADU versus whatever it is, we've all kind of understood, we have our opinions on that as far as what that cost can be for TDR. We hope it's not $2,000, but we hope it's not $500,000. So, somewhere in the middle there. So if we put that in there and it's gonna cost this much, you're gonna have a lot more of these. That's just, the way it is.
I will state that I think what you touched on was as much as ADUs get discussed, they don't get optioned that often. Just if you go across the state and talk to other cities and whatnot, they don't actually get utilized that often. And I would imagine it's because people are having a hard time paying their bills right now. Tax increases, inflation, whatnot. You gotta build a whole new house, whether it's 1,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet, you still have to pay the construction cost of building another house. And that's hard for, not hard for everybody, but it's hard for a lot of people. So, by and large, ADUs are incredibly attractive, but they still cost a lot of money.
Yeah, and I'm for them, I wanna make sure it's understood,
I'm very happy about the one we're not.
yeah, but I think it's a great way of helping out the residents.
Yeah.
And remember, the smaller ADUs will not get as many people within them.
So I think we're still back to the same question. If everybody understands, we're looking at whether or not we exercise the right of city council to impose a requirement that the new state code is silent on. I will go further to say because it would be aligned with the general plan. Putting in this ordinance would align with the general plan, and then enacting it would be aligned with the ordinance and the general plan. That is what we're discussing at the moment, whether or not to require a TDR to build.
Regardless of size, on the one extreme.
On one case, any ADU, and we cap the ADUs at a certain size. In the other option, it was for only up to a certain size, so something smaller doesn't need a TDR, but if we wanted to become a larger or second floor, 2-story additional house, it would need a TDR. And I believe that in my not lawyer background is 100% defensible, because we wouldn't be stopping whatever the state's saying, we're just adding another option that we require this in order to access. So. One is challengeable but in line with the general plan, and one is not challengeable because it just is in line with the state.
Right. Case language is here, use of the TDR, up above it must be where she would find the square footage. I added that other highlighted sentence to clarify that ADUs cannot be used as a agritourism lodging accommodation. We talked about that last time.
Where's the square footage?
It must be up above. Do you recall?
That's what I want to find. Minimum.
She's saying that it's not.
So
Councilman Hoagland, were you,
Go up to the other highlighted part. Did it not get defined right there?
so this is the
No.
lot
Okay.
square footage, the maximum square footage of
It's right there.
the dwelling itself.
There.
We have a maximum set, but there is no minimum. Were you in the highlighted use of transfer development units, were you intending that to state that the ADU exceeds the maximum square footage allowed for the subject lot? Because everything's going to exceed a minimum.
So there again,
You can't have something that does not exceed the minimum
Right.
because it has to meet the minimum,
It
right?
has to be over
It has to,
400.
I mean, we don't set a minimum square footage anywhere in the language. If we did, everything that is not, for example, 400 square feet, everything that is not 400 square feet by default exceeds the minimum.
Right.
So are you
So it's
requiring
written
the
there.
TDR for everything that exceeds
So he's saying.
the minimum?
well, give me then the approach. How do we describe that basic
So
ADU? Do we do it in terms of?
it's that other highlighted right below the livable space. Go back to where you were. The livable space of an ADU shall not exceed 1,500 square feet.
And this is something we enlarged from what the planning commission recommended. But that was prior to this new idea, so if we are gonna go with the new idea, I would go back to making the automatic one without a TDR much smaller, and then we had enlarged this, we thought most people would like it to be a little bit more like 1,500. But the idea was that if you wanted a larger one, you would need a TDR.
And I think the other thing that needs to be emphasized, and I kind of like where it's going, but I do think it needs to be emphasized that this does absolutely opens up the potential for large increase in density without having any TDRs involved with it. We discussed this the other day. I mean, that's if we're saying 1,000 to 1499 is open game, right?
If we're saying 1,000 is the max.
Okay, so it's 1,000.
Everything over 1,000 would require a TDR in this.
Okay.
Is what the proposal.
So we need,
For a house,
what I'm saying is,
one
yeah,
livable floor. Anything more than 1,000 feet and one livable.
that does open up the gates to potentially, free density.
So, and I just wanna make sure everyone's clear, the only way we don't is if we exercise the choice to impose a requirement that is a challengeable thing, but it is defensible, but it is challenging.
I have a comment here that I think we could, if we're gonna impose a TDR thing, we also need to make clear that if you have the ability to subdivide, therefore you already have 2 density units, that you could use one of those for your ADU. If I have 6 acres, right, but we don't say that in our draft.
It doesn't go with us, it was written in the original document that currently exists in Weaver
Weaver
County. If it was changed here, then.
It was changed, the planning commission took that over.
Because and I could be wrong with this, but didn't they have different acreage in the Weaver County one?
No, which is why I asked Brian to get that language and send it to us.
It was before, right, as I read it today, it was written in 23, so it was before the new law. And it went down before the square foot of the lot was much larger in the Weaver County, wasn't it?
Yeah, but in this case, it's whether or not you had to get a TDR. If you had an additional density right to use, in other words, you had 6 or more acres, you could use that density right for your ADU, or you had to get a TDR, essentially is what Weaver County
Right,
said.
that's what Weaver County said, but they had the 6 acres.
If they didn't get a TDR, they had to have 6 acres, 6 or.
Yeah, if they had 5.75,
Then they
they
had.
would have to get a TDR for those.
Right.
But that language is taken out.
So I would say, I'm doing a little online applied research here. Prior research I've read said they are vastly underused. And here I'm looking at the latest research that says among those that are approved, that means they've gone through the land use approval process. Actual construction of those approved is somewhere between 25 and 50%. So size the risk of increased density.
Wow.
It's smaller, so it's smaller, and they're actually not.
Sure, I
a great deal.
What I just heard was people who went through the application process and were approved to get an ADU, only 25 to 50% of them actually follow through with it. That seems odd. Why go through the process?
Why do that?
But that's all right. People have their reasons.
What year was it? Pardon me?
You know what? I can understand reasons. People get approvals and hang
They're
on.
expensive, and
Yeah, and they wanna they can hang on to their approval. Yeah.
it's cost, you know, whatever, this is based on research from. History.
Let's go back. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. How much risk do you guys wanna take, or do you want to? So there's two paths. So two pathways. Zero with ADUs. We, everything's been agreed upon in that ordinance that I can tell, except for, do we want to, require a TDR? What would I say, require a TDR for any ADU? Based off of the general plan language. Or, this other pathway, which is to say, we understand what the state is trying to do. The state is trying to get more affordable housing and seniors and young people. And we're going to, it leaves the city to decide the sizes and things like that on most of it. And so we will put the limitations where we can on things that don't require a TDR. But we will say that if you wanted something different than this base minimum, you will still have to get a TDR. Similar, so it's like we have today's, which I think today's is great, but the state is gonna change it, so we have today's and we'll accept the state's as a hybrid. That's the path to.
I would ask if there's an option 3. I think we should speak to the, if you already have a second density, right, you should be able to do so.
Well, I think that would go, because if you, because if you have to go get one, you can get them yourself. But it moves from that property to where you built that thing, so we would have to record it on the spreadsheet at
Okay.
$2.
Okay, then we need to make
Take
that,
it off so they can't then double dip and subdivide later.
but perhaps we need to just state that in the ordinance so people understand, or we've gotta have something by which they'll understand. It's clear to you as a planner person, but most people have no clue when we talk to you.
I gotcha. Does that go to the TDR ordinance though?
I think we've gotta put it in here, because the second we say you can do this, people are gonna apply for it.
Yeah.
You said we agreed to all the things, and there's something we haven't talked about, and that's the windows piece of this, when they're near the lot line or facing over. I believe the state said we could dictate that.
Design standards.
This is the design standards of an ADU, and I think we have to look at that. If you're building another small home, 10 feet, 20 feet off your lot line, I think that's important to restrict windows on certain sides. The other thing is, just for the record, I don't agree with the 1,500 and 1,000 person. And I think also Weaver County had a 25-foot limit, didn't they, on there? So I think our height is too high.
Brian, what you sent us, was that Weaver County's original?
Yes.
Scroll through it.
Did it say?
We did accept changes in our last meeting. So.
I know, I'm just saying, you said everyone agreed, and I just want to be clear.
Thank you.
If you say it's
Yes, Councilmember.
So we can be prepared to move this ahead. Can we take a straw poll on where people stand on using TDR or not?
For everything versus.
Yeah.
Or
Everything,
larger.
or if we're just, we'll call them jumbo.
Yeah, I'm basing mine a lot on what you're saying and also the mayor's saying on the potential state issue with that, if they choose to. You keep using the word try, or I forget, like it's not a set thing, but if you're convinced that if we don't do this, we're gonna get ourselves in trouble.
I'm not too many generic terms. What are you talking about? Like this and that, I don't, what it could be.
No, with this new state law, if we choose to require TDRs, and we don't have the 1,000 square foot minimal when you don't have to have it, you keep using the term that we will be challenged by the state.
No, not by the
That's the
state,
state,
by the landowner.
Okay, yeah, but by their state law, by the law that they approved, so
Well,
if that's a guarantee that that's going to happen. Well, I know,
There's no guarantee, but I would say it's a pretty good probability.
yeah, so I mean, I guess I would lean more towards doing the proposal that Kate brought forward to you.
and understand, nothing makes you litigation proof.
Yeah.
But this is a reasonable approach that shows we are sensitive to the need for additional affordable housing. We're adding, we could limit it and just say only 1,000 feet, only one story, done. No further ADUs, but we're adding a jumbo ADU benefit that was not mandated by the state. And that's where we want TDR, yeah,
Basically, two.
yes.
Yeah, it's 2 homes.
Well, one is still smaller than the primary residence and all of that, it's just not a 1,000 square feet. By the way, I was going in, what we had discussed was if we went that way, we would make the size back.
Is there a lot size minimum going on?
I think
The state, anything a quarter acre or more is allowed to have 180.
1,150. Either one.
Is Chad's question, should we set a lot size standard if you're gonna do the bigger one?
Oh, I think
Is
yes,
that your question?
I mean,
That would be good.
I think that would be advisable. Yeah,
Sense of the council,
yeah, strong.
strong. I can support the elegant solution, 1,000 square foot minimum. Come up with a number of minimum lot size for the larger one, 1,500, if you wanna go above 1,000. I don't know what it is it an acre, is it 3 acres, we need to decide that. You've gotta have a TDR to do it. We need to make sure that it's clear that if you've got a second density right, because you got 6 acres, you can use that additional density right. So I'm in favor of that. With the TDR required for the, whatever you're calling it, the jumbo, but we need to make a decision. You've got to have at least, I don't know what the right answer is, an acre or 3 acres before you can build the jumbo. Am I making sense?
Yes.
I don't think we should risk the lawsuit. We don't have money, that's an issue. I think we need to follow the state and not require the TDR and have a smaller requirement. Very similar to like Salt Lake and some of the others that are. That will limit people's desirability to do it, and it still honors the property right owner who says, the state says I could do it without a TDR, I can't. So that's my thought right now.
Yeah.
As of tonight, in a big change.
Can I comment to her, the thought that I'm trying to clear, so but what that would do if you didn't do the additional 1,500 TDR, then that TDR could possibly go elsewhere
Right.
to increase it.
Right, and I do understand that, and that is a hard place to put it with the state, but that's where I'm at right now.
I will say, that is an element sufficient.
I don't know how-
No, it's just. It's minimal compliance.
Right, a small. Just with the state.
And then we can see how many people really want to use them. Okay.
And it can always be revisited.
Let me just double check what the state says. Brian, do you have it pulled out? Let me, thing, the state, there were certain requirements, here we go. So no STRs, which this is at the state, but I would like to obviously make sure it's in our language as well. So no STRs, this is a long-term rental only. You must get a business license. The owner must occupy either the primary or the accessory. I think our language actually said the primary, and I said I would like that to be either or, because I think it's really nice for our parents to get to move into a 1-floor smaller unit and let the kids take the larger stairs. So just an either or, let the owner decide. But long-term only, no STR, must get a business license, owner occupied. The parking is capped by the state, so we don't need, I mean, we can write in what the state says, but we don't need to change that. Here's what I'm worried about. Okay, that's the square footage of the lot. Anybody with 11,000 square feet or more is allowed to partake in this.
That's the one we look at, wanting to increase that for the bigger one.
Well, so the,
We're
what,
just
what,
looking at the state.
what Councilmember Julie Baker had proposed was not going with the bigger one, but there's, yes, they're both have. So that's just the state required lot size if you're gonna play with this new right. It does leave for the city, your design standards, your setbacks, your building standards, all that, so. I just wanted to make sure that they weren't giving a because they had some language in there about. And I think it might have been with the parking, if your ADU is this size, you only get one space, if it's this size, it's two. So as long as we don't go below those, so the city may require more than one parking space for ADUs smaller than 650 square feet, 2 spaces for 650 and larger. So they don't specify like a minimum required. So we can write that is, for Councilmember Julie Baker's suggestion, she's saying. Go with the intent of the state, and that is do not require a TDR, tell me wrong. Do not require a TDR, it is what it is, but we are going to exercise our rights, and we're gonna say that they are no larger than 1,000 square feet. And we can even say one level or whatever you wanna say, but originally we had said up to 35 in height to match the house, but it's 1,000 square feet period, so you can be skinny and tall. Or you can be a small, like a cat or something.
That's where I say start, that way it doesn't put us in legal jeopardy. We start small, we expand it when we see the need.
Well, there's lots to be said for that. See what the demand is for that before orchestrating a more complex ADU.
And we don't have a TDR ordinance yet.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we need a TDR ordinance because Weaver County didn't have when we write the language in if we choose to do it. We just copy theirs. Is it easier to start a little stronger? And have Kay's thing and go away from that. If we started, and Peggy, I'm not arguing against you, I'm just putting rhetorical. If we start down here, anybody can do it at 1,000 square feet, but we find that everybody wants to do it. And now we want to impose a TDR constraint. Are we creating an up zone or down zone? Yes.
I think it's the opposite.
Well, we're making it harder for somebody to do it if in the future we put a TDR requirement upon it. So they enjoy the right. If we go down this road, they enjoy a right of being able to do it on 1,000 square feet on anything. And we find, oh, they're doing it everywhere. Now we want to constrain that and say, you've got to do a TDR. Now we're making it harder for them.
But only if they want to jump up.
Yeah, their right was enjoyed at 1,000.
Right.
And so if it was a bigger size, then that would,
Right. It's a rhetorical.
I don't see it, yeah.
Well, we've made it harder for them to do in the future. Do we open ourselves up for a different legal risk doing them?
Not one that I see at the moment in all my legal background. But and who knows what the state's gonna come out with next. But at the moment, this is what they're trying.
Well, I know what they're trying.
Here's the risk if we proceed with the 2-tier system. And let us say someone challenges that and says, you can't do any TDR, and we may be left with the small 2D or the small ADU and requirement to continue the large ADU. Without a TDR. I think it's gonna make me slowly, let's see what the demand is after a year. And then see,
I mean, how many ADUs do we have up here?
they're all internal.
Well, I
Problems.
no, they, I
That's
mean,
our job.
I'm sure there's that.
by the way, that takes money to get studies done.
Yeah.
I will say this, I disagree with you, no, and that's.
No, do it, I'm just,
But I well, because I do think that by allowing the small footprint without a TDR, I would think, in all my legal background, I would think that we are doing what the state said, we are not limiting your ability, and so your argument, you can super anything you want, but your argument saying that we are making it too hard for you, we're not. That's the one that's allowed with free and clear, no extra cost. If you want something different than what is allowed free and clear, these are the conditions. And just like what we've had before, where if you didn't have the land to subdivide, you could go buy a TDR, but if you have it, you didn't have to go buy one because you had your.
could that jumbo ADU be one of our moderate income housing strategies?
So moderate income housing also has, and there's a way to do it for tax purposes and some regulations you might wanna put on it. This is still owned by the property owner. They're not selling it, and you would then have to talk with them. They have to be building what they wanna build, but only be willing to rent it at a modified income rate. They may or may not want to do that.
It's lesser. Anyway,
So to answer your question, maybe we start small, if we go that route, start small, and then see what the plays out in court, because somebody's gonna do it, and somebody's gonna challenge it, and then if they say, yes, you can require a TDR, then we can revisit our.
Which one is just, I just got lost with you. You wanted to start small, which I thought meant just.
Yes.
She's suggesting somebody else would do it.
Somebody else would challenge another city, another
But
municipality.
that doesn't require TDR, so what's the challenge? It's just a.
She's suggesting somebody else would have done an ordinance that requires a TDR.
So
And therefore we would know whether or not it's.
West Haven puts in a TDR.
They don't. Well,
Okay, let me just draw it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be factual, but let's say another municipality has required a TDR for the ADU, all these initials. And it goes to court, the court decides, then we have guidance on how to go forward, is what
We have precedents.
is what I was trying to say. And then if they say, yeah, you can require a TDR, that's legal, then we could revisit and decide what we want to do. That's the safest path I see without having to risk going to court.
may I say, the only reason we're looking at detached ADUs is the state mandate, right?
Right.
otherwise we would adopt.
So let's comply with the state mandate, see what the demand is. And then see if we want to then consider the tier two, the jumbo. And require a TDR, but let's get a baseline.
What about the lot size issue? Any, or just allow state 1,000, there you go.
11.
Well, so lot size is 11.
State 1,000 square feet, that's the maximum size you can do regardless of lot size. Okay,
And then
let's just
let's-
see what the demand is,
okay,
yeah.
Did we, so is it 1,000 square feet period and we're leaving the 35 height? We're just going, we're not saying one floor, we're just saying 1,000 square feet. However you wanna build it, it's 1,000 square feet.
that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, that's fine, I
I
think.
can go, yeah, either way.
Okay, Ryan, are you following us?
Okay,
I think it's,
so are we keeping Councilmember Hoagland's language?
No.
I'm just trying to, it's too fast.
Draw that up.
Here's, good was it?
Clever.
So I've changed the maximum square footage of the living space of the dwelling unit to 1,000 square feet.
Mhm.
Are there any changes to the height of the detached accessory building? It's
No,
currently set at, maximum height is set at 20 feet.
Where does it?
What?
that was depending on certain setbacks in certain zones.
Right.
So that had to do with if you're close to a lot line.
Yeah.
Or, if the structure is located within a valuable setback limits, then it can be 35 feet. The primary structure and not accessory building setbacks, so.
The one point on that building we talked about is if someone had a little farmhouse, but then they had their barn and they wanted to do an apartment on barn too, and the barn's not gonna be 20 feet. Barn's gonna be 35 feet, but that's not saying which whatever is the lesser.
Similar, I think a similar situation could arise with the carriage house garage with a dwelling unit on top.
Does the state say anything on setbacks or we get to decide?
Yeah, that's right.
Personally, because I live on an acre lot, if it's close, it's gonna be close. You know, if it's 10 feet off my lot line and I have a huge house sitting right.
So they addressed that in the table down below, but this one conflicts
Right.
with the table down below. Cause the table down
Yes,
below
no.
assumes that a absolute maximum of 35, but depending on setbacks, it's gonna be less. This one says an maximum of 20 and then says 35. I say we change it to it's 35, but the setback table down below
Yes.
should solve your problem there.
Yeah,
but this is a confused
In
paragraph.
which
I
case,
know,
it could
agree.
be, I think we could strike this paragraph.
Yes.
The whole paragraph,
As
just
long as the chart,
Let's go down and look at the chart real
We
quick,
have the chart.
because Peggy got confirmation of the planning commission's intent, but does this say 35 feet anywhere down here?
I'm seeing.
35 is in the sentence, is the, yes.
Between 20 and 35 shall be a setback.
Yep.
Oh.
There we go.
I like it.
But this says 15 feet on the side, my setbacks in FE3 are 20.
Or just, that's what it says.
This is an accessory building, not primary
Not primary.
residence.
Okay. I think we start somewhere, we start there and do the small and then see how it goes.
So if we're okay with that, then can we strike this?
Paragraph, the whole paragraph? As long as there's nothing in there, that's pretty.
In that table we just looked at was the planning commission ad, and this was parroted somewhat from Weaver County. So does that unhighlighted next one of the 20,000 square feet confuse things below?
That is, well, hold up. I thought we were just sticking with the state, so for a lot is 20,000 square feet or less.
Well, and it defines the max height in that paragraph.
90%.
90% of the but down below, the table gives a different
Right.
max.
I think this was the county. Yeah, I think so.
Both those-
That was all the county, which they went 90% size.
Confusing.
Yeah.
I know.
Right, but all of our heights are 35.
So Chad and I and Tia just said, take both of those out. We've got the table down below that says the setbacks and the height.
Okay,
That's fine.
are we able to pass this? Is that-
My,
We're done.
Wait, Brian,
my last, the concern was raised about privacy with windows facing property
Yes.
lines.
Yes.
I looked up, I've written in an example here, for access to the building on detached accessory dwelling units, the egress shall face away from the nearest neighboring property line. And similarly, windows facing and within 15 feet of a neighboring property line must be frosted and fixed in not open.
Great.
I think that's,
And I have an idea that the city.
We quiver in fear when Tia has an idea.
Why not?
but I think we're there.
Well, I think.
We're so darn
Yeah,
close.
but You don't, yeah, if we're there, if you wanna do it, fine, but. We only need an ordinance on external ADUs. By October first.
We're so close. Why are you confusing it right now?
I'm just reporting the law.
Peggy, do you like that language on windows?
yes.
What else we got, Brian?
That was it,
Did we get the square footage change from 1,500 to 1,000?
2,000, yes.
Here is one,
Okay.
here's an additional thought.
We
The
quiver in fear.
statute expressly authorizes cities to require 90-day minimum rental terms in detached ADUs.
A minimum, to go more than 30 days.
Well, you have to have a 90-day minimum.
You're already preventing them as short as they're already not allowed as short.
Right, but she's saying, rather than saying
You can do
30 days,
You could go
we could
require
go 90. Works for me.
Why not?
The intent of the statute from the state that is
Yes.
messing with our general plan is to provide additional housing, small footprint, affordable housing for seniors and young people. So that's to live it.
that offers
Specifically
that.
not to do rentals. And so
I'm okay adding that. I'm okay adding it.
I like it.
It's not just one
So
month.
give us the language so we can put it in the right place. Peggy, are you okay?
Yeah.
I like it.
Chad, are you okay?
Yeah.
You got what you need, write the language. Let's vote on this silly thing.
Well,
Oh, Tia. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
definitely.
Well, it's because I counted 4. We had 4. Tia,
You got the 3.
I forgot. Cause it's gonna be 11 o'clock when you get home.
Stop jumping, Brian, do you have that we're gonna
Sorry.
require 90-day or longer leases?
For detached,
For
or all
detached.
ADUs.
What's the statute say? What's the statute say?
Internal ADUs are not new growth, they're not.
I mean, the state statute is that short-term rentals are not required. You can prohibit short-term rentals in internal and external ADUs. It says absolutely nothing about 90-day.
No, But that's said,
I'm seeing something that says cities can, can acquire at least 90-day rent.
Do you have,
I would say this,
do you have a citation?
yeah, I'll get it. Let's do this. I feel we are rushing right now. And I think we have a concept. And let's look at it on Monday, and we've had an opportunity to write it well.
I think that's fine.
Yeah,
We didn't do anything to do it now versus Monday.
we have other things
Other
going
than
on.
tear things off.
We have other
But
things,
30
but we,
seconds.
and we haven't done STRs, and we haven't finished the. And Steve thing screening, blah, blah, blah.
that's really remarkable. We can handle those, we just have 3
I
weeks.
need one more council member to decide if we're tabling that. I'll take a motion, how about that?
I moved to table
Which one?
the AUs. Do we need to table?
So right now, because we've been discussing, we can just move to table it.
I'm gonna move to table ADU to, yeah, I don't need to say one.
Is there a second? Motion fails. I will make another motion.
Specifically, can you tell us why
To
specifically?
get that, this is a state requirement and to get the language well written.
She's.
Yeah, I think we're going off, shouldn't know that.
And are you gonna
See
do
the
something on it between now and
You
then?
know me, I always do.
I will second that then.
I will do it.
Well, motion has to go back. to the table.
No, I didn't.
I will
entertain
entertain
a
a
motion.
motion to table.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll say.
There's a motion to table ordinance 2026-XX, chapter 10819, accessory dwelling units. There's a second by Councilmember Booth. I will take a vote. Councilmember
Aye.
Booth,
I.
Shaw. Councilmember Owen. Aye. Councilmember doing it.
Nick, it was done.
Oh, it was messy.
Done.
I agree. It's a 4-1 vote to table. ADU is tabled, and then separately, it's 9:06. Hold on, just real quick, we got some procedure. So we have 3 actionable items that have not been discussed. My suggestion is that those are also tabled for the next meeting, which has already been, which hasn't been noticed yet, but we have set a date for of Tuesday, the 23rd at 6 P.M.
Plus, we have a work session.
But no action, yes. So, the rest, those 3 action items, at 9:07 will be pushed to the next meeting. No reason for closed session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I moved.
No public comment?
Oh, we had it up front.
I know you had at the beginning, what about the end?
No, we do it up front. We split, you know what?
He sat here for 3 hours. Okay, Carrie
We
Wainscott,
actually put it up front so people didn't have to stay there, but then go ahead, thank you. You get a
Carrie
vote.
Wainscott, owner and operator of Huntsville Storage. So I know your pledge was not to take away the property rights of property owners or the rights of property owners. Tonight I've heard a lot of you can't. There's a lot of just, you can't do this, you can't do that. You did take away one of my rights as a property owner tonight in the fact that I cannot have a storage facility that's front facing on a major artery. My question is what is front facing? Is that 100 feet off the road? Is that 2,000 feet off the road? Is that the doors are facing the major artery? Is that I've got ingress and egress off that major artery? What is your definition of front facing? The person right next to me, Pine View Storage, he has his storage facility right on Highway 39 over here.
Right.
So in essence, you've set the precedence, or the county has, that he could be there. But if I were to do that with mine, because I'm further back to the south, I can't do that with my property. So in essence, that right has been taken away. I mean, that's something that we can resolve. I really don't plan on putting storage units on the highway, but I have worked with Weber County. I was going to put them, let's say, on the back tier
That's
of
what
my
I thought
property.
you do, which
Yeah.
would not be a front.
Which is fine, but I'm just pointing that out. When you say front facing over at the four-way stop, what does that mean? I mean, how close to the road can they be? I think you need to define that. The other opportunity is you're a new city. You're not gonna make money, you're not gonna survive on property taxes, particularly with the idea that people are trying to and wanting to, right or wrong, eliminate property taxes. You should be looking at how do we create sales tax revenue? That four-way stop in Eden is a prime location for property tax or sales tax revenue. Putting a village there is not going to give you sales tax revenue. If you put that village over by the Eden Park on the old Stallings property or something like that, if you knew where that was, that would be a great place for it. Or where the Eden General Store was, a village in that area. But that four-way stop is prime sales tax revenue property. You ought to develop the heck out of that. Another place that you ought to look at is on Highway 39 going up to South Fork. I know Huntsville Town has taken away that whole, what I would call State Highway 39 Boulevard. That could have been a major commercial development. It's now in the town of Huntsville. You do have a corner on the northeast corner that could be in the general plan designated, okay, this is going to be for commercial development. Councilman Booth had a great idea. The road turning up to Wolf or to Trappers Loop, that area right there, prime intersection. You don't have to do anything with it. Just say in the general plan, this is going to be commercial development or Chris's. You know, those are areas that you can come in and say, going forward, these are the areas we're going to designate to try and generate that sales tax revenue that's going to be so invaluable to you. But, you know, I would just say, give me a definition of front facing, because I was going to move my property lines to allow some additional row of storage. But, you know, I don't know how far can I move it to the west and still be okay. But to me, that's a question.
Do you have the storage units behind the post office? Are those?
No,
It sits right over here in Huntsville.
Okay,
So mine are right over here. They're kind of right on the bluff,
gotcha.
you know, so they set back in
Yeah.
to the.
If you're willing to hang up for a minute, I'd like to, I have the map loaded, I'd like to make sure I understand exactly what
Yeah.
you're proposing. I was under the impression your proposal that you talked about in previous meetings wouldn't have been affected by the language that's said.
It really would, but there might be some other things. I mean, I've even thought about a gentleman named McFarland is planting pumpkins over on the old Jensen property. You know, putting in a produce stand. I was gonna approach him and say, you know, I got a lot of traffic. If you want to come in and sell produce off of that in a stand, I would.
Yeah.
But I haven't talked to him yet, so.
I believe we've written allowances.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, just the storage facility where you said front facing, I was like, whoa, what does that mean?
I understand.
That's all.
How big it is, sir?
Ariel.
There.
They're making.
Yeah.
Not for a minute, I'd love to talk to you after. And just so I heard your word, we made an active choice to move public comment from the end of meetings where it was, and if we could kind of to the front of meetings so that if people didn't want to stay, we don't want to listen. So thank you, I appreciate that you did. All right, so hang on, we have a motion to adjourn. Let's get a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We've got a motion to adjourn from Councilmember Shaw, a second from Councilmember Hickman, it is 9:15, all in favor. Aye. Any opposed? Just for fun, all right, adjourn.